Okay, D&D lovers, we have today our second installment playing Dungeons & Dragons on the podcast called Psychology in Seattle, and I'm your host, Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist, a professor, and a level 3 cleric. Berto, who are you?
My name is Humberto Castaneda. Isn't this the third installment?
So we did a second one. Thank you for mentioning that, Berto. And so we've been making this podcast for 10 years.
Right.
And I just recorded on my computer.
Uh-huh.
And I have to use complicated software and complicated equipment. And about once every 2 years, or maybe once every year.
Oh, God, no.
Maybe once every 18 months, I will, at the end of this podcast recording session, I'll press stop, and my computer will, or the software will just indicate it didn't record a single thing, even though, as you can see, there's an indication of recording. And so, there'd be these times when I would press stop, and it would just like disappear, and there's no recovery. And
we need a class action lawsuit against these people.
And that's what happened. Good luck with it's made by Sony. I'm sure I'm sure they don't have lawyers to fight me. But anyway, so that happened last time. We recorded an entire Dungeons and Dragons session for like 3 hours.
This explains so much.
It was epic. We went all over the place.
It was so good.
It was so good.
You missed so many wonderful
This will only be a
jokes.
pale reflection of a reflection.
And so Adam Johns, our DM, our dungeon master, upon learning this, had a choice to make. He said, well, we can either just briefly summarize that second session and move on, or I can go back and we can just start over as if we never did the second session.
It's loading the save game from before,
It's starting, right. It's starting the save all over. You guys are just going to run through the next section and just be like, there's the guys to the left and the next guys to the right.
Yeah.
Listen, we've all lost saved games before. I used to have, on the PlayStation, remember the little memory cards? I had a Final Fantasy VII save, and it was my brother's because he was playing on, and he was like, I don't know how many hours, 40 hours into the game or something, and the file just wouldn't load. And he had to start over.
I had the exact same experience. I got really excited when you said that because
God.
I literally had a Final Fantasy save on a PlayStation that made it to the save before the final boss.
Oh my, no!
And then I corrupted the save and I couldn't. I never beat the game.
Oh, that's so brutal.
It's a sad.
So this is basically like that. And Adam Johns, our DM, has been so gracious to say, you know what? The listeners will not, they need to know what happened. They need to experience it along with us. So Adam has gone back in time and said, okay, we'll just erase the second session and start over, which is just,
This is fair.
So,
well, my name is Humberto Castaneda, and I'm an engineer for the Sony Corporation.
Who are you, Adam Davis?
My name is Adam Davis. I'm one of the executive directors for Game to Grow, and I'm playing Shoosh, a tiefling bard.
And my name is Adam Johns. I'm the other executive director for Game to Grow, and I'm playing the Dungeon Master. I'm a level 15 Dungeon Master.
Wow.
So this time, and for the only time that I've ever done this since the beginning of this podcast, I have a second computer also recording this podcast. So unless the stars align and both computers decide to crap out, we should be okay this time.
At that point, do we have to make a determination that the fates have conspired against us? And
Well,
there's
my mom did ascribe, or was, she did believe in the propaganda that Dungeons and Dragons in the 80s was related to satanic rituals.
Maybe it's a cursed thing.
Maybe my mom cursed it. Yeah. essentially.
Oh my gosh, that's too bad I got erased, because I bet you if you listened to it and turned the volume way up, you could have heard all sorts of demonic voices.
You have to play it backwards.
Oh, play it backwards.
Yeah,
right.
exactly. Yeah.
Right. See, my theory is a little different. I think Kirk was unhappy with his roles and with his decisions, and he's like, oops, delete.
Oh yeah.
Control.
I cast a delete spell.
Yeah. Kirk's character was really whiny in that whole episode.
Yeah.
No,
you guys should have heard it. It was terrible.
It's not in character.
So if you're a listener to the podcast and you don't like Dungeons and Dragons, or you don't like listening to four dudes in a smelly room that we eventually will make very smelly,
It started smelly. It's going to get worse.
play Dungeons and Dragons, then I don't recommend listening to this episode. But the reason why we're doing this is because I am board president of a nonprofit called Game to Grow, as I talk about sometimes. Adam and Adam are executive directors of the nonprofit, and they're basically Game to Grow, and I'm just a peripheral figure. And the nonprofit, the mission is to spread the use and knowledge and awareness of using tabletop games like Dungeons and Dragons for therapeutic use, for building community, for just helping people in general of all ages, whether they're kids or adults. And what we're finding, and what Adam and Adam found before the founding of the nonprofit, is that people really take to Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
People who have never played before, people who almost never interact with other people, people who do interact with other people. And it also, so not only is it a fun activity for people in various contexts, whether that's in group therapy or in community settings or in hospitals or online or whatever, but it also is a very flexible platform for leaders like Adam and Adam to use different techniques within the game that are totally in game. It's not out of game, that actually can change people's lives and improve their lives and bring them higher self-esteem, greater social skills, more connection, more meaning, less isolation, more love, more self-identity, emotional regulation, all the things that every parent, every teacher, every therapist wants for all their clients, frankly.
Well, do you mean they can actually like cast real spells?
Yeah. The spell.
The spell of friendship, really.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Level 5 friendship
Level 5
spell.
friendship.
Yeah.
No save. And
Vanity.
and what we hope, and there's other people, it's emerging in other pockets around the world. But as Game to Grow, we want to be the hub of all that for everyone around the world. We want to be connected to all that. We don't want to consume every organization, obviously, but we want to be the connector. We want to be actually providing the service. We want to be training people. We want to be connecting other people. We want to have resources that people can come to. We want like a database of all the different service providers that do this kind of thing. We want to be connecting, donation services to other organizations, obviously. And so it's a really big deal. It's a big mission. It's already, heading up every month. We have more groups now than we did before. We're training people not only to work for Game to Grow, but also around the world to provide these kinds of services. It's a really big deal. And the amount of particularly young adults and teenagers that can benefit from this kind of therapy is just tremendous. This is a thing that actually changes people's lives, actually is a treatment modality that is perhaps the only one available that these people will relate to and actually want to do. And that's a really big deal. It's actually making a difference. Adam and Adam are actually making a difference in real human beings' lives. And they're observing that, and everyone loves it, and it's just a wonderful thing. So if you want information, go to game2grow.org. That's game2grow, TO.org, and you can learn more. And if you're a clinician, you want to be trained, go to the website, contact us. If you want to volunteer, if you want to work for us, we're probably going to be hiring in another 6 to 12 months, another group of people to work for Game to Grow as we get more people in the community who want to hire us. And if you're in another city and you want to be trained on this, Adam and Adam will provide training for you online or fly out to your location, provide an in-service training for a day or two. We have packages for that sort of thing. And I'll tell you from personal experience, Adam and Adam are extremely charismatic trainers. They're not your typical boring lecturers who just, stand up and it's point one. Yeah, like it's very entertaining. And I've seen crowds like respond to them like they're movie stars or something. There's a certain
Paid crowds, but yeah.
There's a certain magic that they have as a team. Adam Johns is more the straight man. Adam Davis is more the jokester, although you have good information too. but I've seen groups of, well, let's just say women responding very positive to Adam Davis's charms. And you can know that your training will be the same. So if you're looking for that sort of thing, then go to gametogrow.org and look us up.
Yay.
Yeah.
I'm sold.
That's great. You said it all really well.
Yeah,
so let's play.
Let's play some D&D.
Let's do it.
let's do it.
So, I guess one last thing for our listening audience. We did lose the copy of the last game. To make it really clear, none of the players know what's going to happen in today's game. I've taken everything back in time to where the end of the first session, where the first session ended, and that's where we're picking up again. But it's going in a brand new direction. So none of the players know what's going to happen. They are veiled in the shadow of the future for all this.
Do we need to do the...
Yeah.
I think we do.
So previously on Dungeons and Dragons with Game to Grow and Psychology in Seattle, my character is a dwarf. Think about Gimli, the warrior with the axe in Lord of the Rings and in The Hobbit. Was he in The Hobbit? Or no, he doesn't show up in The Hobbit. Anyway, think of a dwarf with an axe.
His father does.
Yeah, which is named Thrain, I believe, or Thorin. No. Anyway, the point, Thorin's dad is named Thrain. Getting off topic. I am a dwarf, and I'm a cleric, which is basically a priest. And it's a battle priest, so I have armor and I have weapons. I am friends with Humberto's character, who is named Grollo.
Grollo the Cruel.
Who is a half-orc. He's sort of a bumbling, strong man.
It means handsome.
He's well-meaning. He's well-meaning, and his sort of life story or his character arc is trying to look for his dad, who is an orc. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's correct. My demon father, who came and destroyed my mother's village and did things to her.
So I came upon Grollo, and I felt bad for him. Although I hate orcs because dwarves and orcs hate each other, I did feel bad for Grollo, and I took him under my wing. And so we're a good team because he's the guy who rushes in, and I'm the guy who rushes after trying to pick up the pieces.
I come up with the plan.
Exactly. And then we met in the first session. We met Shush, played by Adam Davis, who is a...
Shush is a tiefling, which is sort of devil-like, and he's a bard, which is basically a magical musician. And he had a boat. And Shush's backstory is a little bit veiled in mystery, but Shush, his name came from the thing his mother always said to him. As a young musician, and Shush strives to be the character in some of these stories of heroes that he likes to sing about.
Okay, and we were tasked with a mission because we're looking for work and we're looking to make a difference in the world and make money. In a town, I'll just briefly describe it. They were experiencing a lot of piracy by this ghost ship. And we were trying to figure out why. Long story short, we went to a altar on this little island in the middle of the water, and we defeated a shadow, which is like a demon. Correct me if I'm wrong. From the
It is a demon. Yeah.
From the hells, from the 99 hells world or something.
Technically from the abyss, but yes.
From the abyss. That's right. The hells are for the devils, and the abyss is where the demons lived. And we destroyed it. It was a harrowing encounter because it's a powerful thing, the shadow. That, essentially, long story short, made it so that the ghost pirate ship, no longer terrorized this town as much, and the town was able to return. Well, we don't know. We're actually on the boat.
This is where we are.
We're heading back to the town, hoping to tell the town that we did something great and accept our reward and our accolades.
That's a perfect recap.
And I need a statue built for me.
You're going to work on having a statue built for Grollo. All three of you are now sailing away from the craggy island that you found the statue of the altar of Elune and the shadow demon and the small box, which it's important to recognize who has the small box, who's actually holding on to it.
I will be.
I think it was you.
Okay.
To clarify and as a reminder, the box was apparently stolen from the bank. That these people who you encountered on the ship said that they had been hired in order to steal this very particular box from the bank. And the box is sort of a small, maybe a largish ring box, but a very small jewelry box sized. And it has carvings and engravings all around it that clearly indicate its magical nature. Oh yeah, Adam's actually got like a little box. It's about that size.
Prop box.
It's a little prop box.
Don't open it.
don't open it. Well, it's too late.
Face is melting.
Actually, the box sort of sits open now that now that the demon has already escaped. So you can open and close it at will. Maybe Grollo keeps like preparing himself for the demon to come out again.
Can I say something to my friends right now? Or?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not so sure about going back to land.
Why?
I had a horrible dream. I remember in my dream we arrived and there was fire and Grollo had to jump out of windows and it was very painful for Grollo and I got attacked and there was more orcs. It was horrible.
Don't be ridiculous. That'll never happen.
I hope you're right.
Actually, it is really late. And it's a reasonably easy jaunt back to the town now that you know that there are no ghost pirates ready to take you out. And because of the ghost pirates, there are pretty much no other ships in the Sound either. So it's pretty easy to do. And this is actually a pretty good time. Shush, I imagine your boat has some sleeping quarters or something along those lines, a place to lay down if you need to.
It's got some bunk beds.
Some bunk beds?
Yeah, for me and all my friends.
Yeah. How many bunk beds does it have?
It has 7.
You can take 2.
Yeah. I probably want to sleep on the bottom, right? So that I crush whoever's.
Yeah. I'm just waiting for friends.
You're just waiting for a lot more friends. Shush, as you show everybody down to your bunk beds and you have a chance to catch just a little bit of shut-eye before you make your way back to the town of Torax, you do get some really peaceful sleep.
It's because I'm singing you guys to sleep.
Oh.
Are you singing it? Are you singing in your sleep?
No, well, yes. I do both.
Yeah.
Play the violin so you guys can sleep.
What song do you play on the violin?
What's the lyrics?
The lyrics are, the moon is bright tonight. The moon is so bright. We just had a wonderful night and we don't have to fight. I would be singing it, but I'm not in character right now.
I have a feeling our 2 characters are pretty loud snorers.
Yes.
Spoken port.
No, Grollo doesn't snore. You snore.
So the moon is indeed high in the sky and shining a beautiful moonlight across the sereneness of the Sound. It's sort of a wonderful, peaceful night for all of you to sleep. Well, it is at least for Shush and Grollo. Grollo, you did indeed have a terrible dream, but it wasn't this night. It was the night before of the harrowing things that might have happened to Torax. But Thrain, you have a particularly disturbing dream this night.
Uh-oh.
Your dream mostly consists of...
Did it have to do with my computer?
It did. Your dream ends and then you forget the entire thing.
Should have had a backup.
The backup dream.
By the way, sorry. The other day, unrelated, I was having this dream, and in my dream, the most fantastic country song was being sung by this female. And I was making it up on the spot. And like, I remember, and I was like, and I was kind of being able to shape the song, like, oh, add a little bit of this theme. And I was like, oh my God, that song sounds amazing. And I'm like, I gotta remember. And then I didn't remember.
This is literally the premise of a Tenacious D song, I think.
Yeah, the greatest. This is the greatest,
the best song in the world.
This is not the greatest dream. This is but a tribute.
Yes.
In your dream, the first thing you see is the symbol of Moradin. Now, in Dungeons & Dragons lore, Moradin has a pretty classic symbol, but in our game, what is the symbol of Moradin?
A anvil with a hammer.
Awesome. You actually see almost like a close-up scene of a blacksmith working on an anvil, hammering out just a piece of metal, just really shaping something. And the scene reminds you of home. It reminds you of your people. It reminds you of the things that help connect you to your dwarven clan, to your family, and certainly to your faith. The hammer really truly looks like the wondrous hammer of Moradin. And in that moment, you know that this dream is an omen. But as it zooms out, as the sort of dreamscape fades and it fades into another place, you can see the town of Torax. You can see it in all of its peaceful glory, right in the middle of its fall festival of Tumble Day, of all of the wonderful things, and the people are happy and they're prosperous. And then sort of in the background, it sort of fades into a fiery landscape. And you can see the town of Torax in flames, and silhouetted by flames, you see a massive orc. He stands easily 10 feet tall, with bulging muscles, and he gives forth a yell that fills you with terror. The orc, you can't quite make it out, but you definitely know it's got the shape and it's got the yell of an orc, and he carries with him a massive spear.
Moradin, save me.
And indeed, in that moment, as you sort of mumble to yourself, Moradin, save me, you're pulled away. You're pulled away from this place and instead pulled down south. And you can see the landscape flying by you, and you find yourself standing, or at least viewing from a standing position, a large city. Again, bustling, wondrous, but in this case, you don't get the feeling like you are filled with warmth or that you're filled with a welcoming space. Instead, you are filled with fear as you look upon this city, and you can see the sky behind it. Though the city is not in flames or anything like that, the city seems perfectly intact, but the sky behind it has a deep red hue that fills you with an unease about this place. And that's the moment you wake up. In the morning, you wake up, you get just enough sleep to get sort of into the very early dawn, enough to have some light for which to see by. And you would probably sleep a little bit longer, really enjoying the spoils of having been victorious in battle and in your mission, except that you hear a strange noise coming from outside the ship, something banging into the side of the ship. Sounds like a wooden plank banging against the side of the ship, sort of in a drifting fashion, banging periodically, like something has drifted into the side of the ship.
Oh, go check on it.
Shush, roll me a. We'll just make this a perception check.
That is a natural 20.
Whew.
Whoa.
I care a lot about my boat.
That's true.
Shush, you feel
Laser
the walls of
eyes.
your boat. And through the vibrations of the walls, you can tell your boat is hurting.
What do you need, boat? Speak to me.
As you run up to the top of the boat, you can see that you're still drifting on the sound. Everything is peaceful. There's no land in sight. But to the side of your boat, you can see a very small, sort of lifeboat, a sort of longboat, with one person inside the boat.
I've seen longer.
It's not a super long boat. It's a short long boat. But there's one person that appears to be unconscious on the inside of the boat. He doesn't seem to have any oars, and he is dressed in sort of dark traveling clothes. It appears to be a human. But he looks super, with a 20. You can tell he is dehydrated. His breathing is labored. You can tell his heartbeat is very slow as you're looking at him. That's just how observant you can see his pulse.
I can feel the vibrations from his pulse to his boat to my boat.
Yeah, exactly. And you can, and more specifically, you can also tell he's clearly very, very dehydrated. He's probably been on the water for a long time, and it's probably true that he hasn't had his oars, which is probably why he can't really go anywhere.
Have we come up by this point?
I imagine so. It didn't take Shush very long to do that, but the sound was loud enough that it woke all of you.
What is this? Is this someone you know?
Oh, I've never seen him before in my life.
Should we bring him on board?
Well, I suppose we might need to carry him up here.
Okay, can I try to carry him?
Sure. Grillo, actually, you're strong enough. I'm not even going to make a roll for this. You can kind of climb down a rope ladder and pick him up and bring him up. He is surprisingly light.
Okay.
In sort of an alarming way. But he appears to be kind of a young man, probably in his mid-20s, who definitely looks pretty worn for the wear. And you notice that he has an injury. He has a cut on his arm that appears to be sort of a bad gash, but not super deep.
Does he look like just a regular townsperson?
He kind of looks like a regular townsperson, yeah.
Okay. I cast Cure Wounds. By Moradin's beard, awake and have your wounds be cured.
I'll also have you roll. You can roll for the cure wounds, and I'll have you roll a medicine check as well. Thrain.
Okay.
I can get some water from the
8 points
barrels
of healing and medicine of a 23.
Awesome. You can tell the wound is bad, but with your healing, it closes up very well. But more specifically, you can tell he's probably dehydrated and malnourished. You suspect, Thrain, that he's probably been on this boat for as much as maybe a week. It's been a long time to be on a longboat.
Is there water and food nearby?
It doesn't look like he had any supplies whatsoever.
Do we have any water?
You guys have supplies. You have water and food on the
Does
the
he
boat
wake up?
When you heal him, he doesn't. But as you start to give him some water and start to sort of take care of him a
Do
little
I
bit.
slap him?
I
try to
Does
slap
anybody
him.
try
I
to
try to
stop
slap him.
Grillo?
Here, I'll
Slap
wake
you?
him up.
I don't know.
You shake him really
You're
violently.
too strong, Grillo. Medicine requires a light touch that I think you are not capable of.
Fine. But it would be quicker.
But if you have good thoughts, Grillo, that will help.
Good thoughts.
Good thoughts.
Can I slap him?
In your thoughts.
In your thoughts.
Okay.
You can have slappy thoughts.
It takes a couple of hours to like get him back to consciousness. During that time, you start sailing your way back to Torax. Do you tell anybody about your dream, Thrain?
Yeah, I say, by the way, Moradin sent me an omen last night. Danger is ahead, not only in Torax, but in a city in the south. Shush, do you know of a large city just south of here on the coast?
Do I know?
Shush, you do. They're actually sort of the best described as a sort of a capital city. It's actually where the king lives. Is a very large city that's probably a day's journey or a couple of days' journey south from Torax.
Can we access it by boat?
You could sail down to that city. We're going to name that city together. Humberto, why don't you give me the first letter?
P.
Kirk.
X.
Oh, God, that's going to be
Could be very interesting.
E.
E.
Jeez. H.
Give me one more letter, Adam.
A.
Pika. Pika. Pika.
How would we say this
Pika.
P-X-E-H-A?
Pika.
Pchiha.
Shiha?
Pika. Pika.
Pchiha.
Pika. Well, we're not
Shiha.
from there, so we don't know how to say it.
We're being really insensitive right now.
So tell us what you think the name is.
Oh, the city just south of here is Pchiha.
Shiha.
Do you mean Pshiha?
That's going to sound really good in all these mics of us.
In the local language, they say Pchiha.
Pshiha.
It's kind of like that.
Okay.
It's a complicated phoneme for the Orcish tongue.
The city's massive. If there's a cultural hub of this area, it's definitely Pchiha, where there are churches of every variety. There's an entire artisan district. There are many people there, and of course, the king resides there. And the king sort of rules over a lot of the land here and largely defends it. Most people see the king as a pretty just king for the most part. There are times where his decisions are frowned upon or people don't like him, but for the most part, they see him very as a worthwhile king.
Okay.
So in the town of Torax, Moradin showed me it was in flames. Sometimes Moradin gives me visions that are metaphorical.
I had flames in my dream 2 nights ago.
Okay, so bad omens. Fire usually means bad things. And
I hate fire.
And I also, in my dream, saw a monstrous 10-foot orc, an evil presence.
That was probably just me.
No, it was a pure orc.
Oh.
Like your father.
Oh.
And then I also, Moradin showed me Pahiha, Pasiksa,
It's
and
Pashiha.
Pahiha.
although the town seemed at peace, there was a doom coming from the sky.
We should go help these people.
We should.
It's
I
about
think
this
that's
time.
what Moradin is telling us.
I think we can
But
stop and get a reward first, maybe.
Yeah, well, we need a reward for sure. We can't go save people without a reward.
Get a little recognition from
Sure. Yes.
Torin.
It's
Agreed.
about this time as you're actually having the whole conversation and you're talking about all of this that that the figure that you rescued from the longboat wakes up. He's sort of coughing and he seems very very weak. And
Is
he
he
says,
like in the guy in Seven that everyone thinks is dead, and then it was like, you know what I'm talking about?
not quite that disturbing, but yeah, a little like that.
What's
yeah.
in the box? We're just gonna do 7 reverse.
It's just gonna be 7. It's just gonna be that line from 7
Yeah.
back and forth. As you, he coughs and he sort of turns over on his side, and he just says, "Water, water."
I give him water.
He grasps it from your hand and he starts drinking it, frankly, a little too fast. And he coughs that as well, but he slows himself down a little. And he looks up at all three of you, and he has sort of a confused look on his face. You are a half orc, a dwarf, and a tiefling that are sort of out in the middle of the of the ocean. So he gives you like a long,
human?
confused look. Yes.
A human, okay.
Yeah. And he says, I assume
We're here to help you, friend. We were on a mission to help Torax, to save Torax from the ghost pirates. You can trust us.
Oh, you're from Thorax.
We were
yeah.
tasked by people in Torax
Wait a minute. How do we know he's not a ghost pirate?
because I can touch him.
Oh,
The
okay.
ghosts we could not touch.
Yeah, I'm not a ghost pirate. That would be wicked scary, I guess. Are there ghost pirates that are out in the water out there?
Not anymore. Well, yes, but not right now.
Oh.
We took care of that.
Oh well, then I guess I've got you to thank for that. I've had a hard enough time as it is. I don't even want to have to deal with any ghost pirates.
Do you have our reward then?
I didn't know that I was on a boat. I think.
What
I'm
happened
dying
to
on
you?
a boat.
How come you are,
Well,
hurt?
I was sailing with some friends. We were leaving the town of Torax, and they were sort of fiddling with this thing, and I told them not to fiddle with it, and they were fiddling with it anyway, and it seemed like a dangerous thing. So I jumped off the boat. I got out of there as fast as I could.
Was it this box?
He looks terribly alarmed as you hold up the box, and you see him like trying to scooch away, but you've got him kind of cornered in the bunks, so he doesn't really have anywhere to go, and he realizes that he's sort of giving himself away as he looks really alarmed, and he goes, "No, I've never seen a box like that in my life. I've never seen anything like that.
Okay, well,
probably
that
not a
settles
box."
that. That's too bad. We were hoping to.
Is it obvious that he's lying?
It's super obvious that he's lying.
I don't even
Except
need
to
to
me.
roll.
Grolo's on board.
I say, Grolo, grab our friend here for a second.
Okay.
Just hold him. Make sure he does. We'll take care of you. And then I cast Zone of Truth.
Awesome. So he gets to make a roll, but he fails his roll. So that means that he has to tell the truth.
That's right. And he knows that I cast it. He's aware of it.
He can tell that you cast something. If he's not a spellcaster, he might not know exactly what you did. But
Okay.
he can definitely tell you move your hands and light comes out of your hands or something along those lines.
And I ask him, were you one of the robbers of the bank?
Yeah, I was one of the people who was hired to come in and rob the bank, and he looks pretty surprised by his answer that he's giving you.
Like, oh shit. Like in,
like really confused, like he was
what's
trying to
that
come up
movie
with a
with
lie.
Drew Carey? Where he
With
can't
Jim
lie.
Carrey?
Jim
Liar.
Carrey.
Yeah.
You liar.
It's sort of like that. Where
But I'm
he's-
like, wait, you just said you didn't know anything about the box.
yeah, I was lying to you because I didn't want you to figure out that I had something to do with it. And again, he looks really confused that he's telling you, while you're like very strong and much bigger than him and holding him down.
Did you know what was in this box when you stole it?
I had no idea.
Did your friends know what was in it?
All they were told is that we got a letter that said that we needed to not open the box that had something really valuable in it. Of course, that was like to them like a big shining beacon. We got to open the box, is what they said.
So you were hired to steal this box?
Yeah, it was really strange. The guy said, "Just go in, break into the bank, steal the box. Don't steal anything else."
Who told you to do this?
Well. It was a guy. You can tell he's like really trying to resist. But he says,
Warden commends you.
he says, it was the pawnbroker down in the city of Pahia.
I wouldn't believe anything this guy says.
How big is the zone of truth? Are we all kind of in the zone of truth? Does
If you're
Grollo
within,
have to also speak the truth?
if you're within like 10
Yes.
feet of me or whatever,
Yes.
no, 15 feet of me,
I think that is absolutely
probably
true.
most of the boat.
Everyone in this
The
room
fish
has to
underneath-
speak the truth.
The fish are also being
Oh
really
crap! Well, you can make a
It
save.
smells terrible in here. Oh, I
Crollo,
thought-
you have terrible hygiene.
Why are you saying this to me?
Pawnbroker.
I like the idea that Grollo nothing changes for Grollo because he always speaks the truth anyway.
It's like, yes, the guy in Guardians.
Yeah.
What's the name of the pawnbroker who hired you?
We got to come up with another name. Adam, would you give me the first letter of the pawnbroker's name?
R.
A.
I'll try to go easy.
Yeah,
P.
you guys are going to be the ones who are having to pronounce this again and again.
Was it R-A-P so far?
Correct.
P.
I.
Everyone just calls him Rappy.
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 I'm glad you chose that pronunciation.
Rappy.
But he basically,
I was wondering.
where this was going. Everyone just calls him Rappy. He's sort of the, I guess, off-books dealer for any kind of thieving job if you don't want to go through the actual thieves guild.
Right.
Are you, the four of you, are you thieves?
Well, I like to think of myself as a doer of things.
And
But
what's,
yeah, thief is probably a good title.
And what's your name?
My name is Nicholas Gearhart.
Nick?
He's also still like really surprised that he's giving you all.
And
the whole process. He's like really confused by.
what happened to your friends? Your three friends.
He goes. He looks a little more solemn and he says, "Those idiots! I can't believe that they still open the box even after all the warnings. It had all these crazy carvings. Well, just like you see it. It's clearly bad for you. It's got some kind of curse or something on it.
It did.
And I thought it was a bad idea to open up that box. So the
was.
instant that they tried to open the box, I got out of there as fast as I could. But Jimmy, the other guy on the boat, he took the oars out of the boat as soon as I tried to bail. So I was off the boat, and then I heard terrible screaming coming from the boat. I just tried to paddle with my hands out of there as fast as I could get out. But it was wicked dark. I couldn't see anywhere I was going.
I need to use the bathroom.
Hold on to them for a second. Well, I hate to inform you, but I think we came upon your pals and they have all perished at the hands of a shadow that was inside of this box.
No. I knew it was bad news. The whole job seemed real shady. I don't know who wants you to break into a bank but doesn't want you to take any money.
The pawnbroker, you said.
Yeah, I guess that's I mean, you're not wrong. That's the guy who set us on the thing. But he was doing a job for someone else.
Would you consider teaming up with us just temporarily without any deception or trying to steal from us in return for us not throttling you for doing and in return for us not turning you over to the authorities once we reach Torax?
You mean you would keep me from the authorities, from Torax?
If you help us, there are perhaps greater things. There was an omen from my god that you have now filled in some clues. Perhaps Moradin wants me to ask you to do this.
All right. I don't know anything about that god stuff, but I'm on board. I'll help you out with this if that's something that will get me off the hook, I guess.
We can't trust this man.
He's
True.
right. You shouldn't trust me. He also looks really surprised by that.
we will keep an eye on you, or
uncanny.
shall I say, Grollo will keep his eye on you, and you do not want to upset him.
Fine.
That is
And
the
then
truth.
I like put my eye down to his face.
This is making me real uncomfortable in sort of like a closeness and like a personal space kind of way.
You might have to explain to Grollo not to take it too literally.
Do you have any other questions for this guy while he's
Under the zone of truth.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay.
We got what we needed. out of
Do
him.
you want to team up with him?
No. Oh, sorry. This is Zone of Truth. I don't trust this guy.
Yeah. Well, we can keep an eye on him because what I'm thinking is we need an in with this pawnbroker. If
That's
we just
true.
walk in there, it might be hard to figure out what's going on here. Whereas if he goes in with us, we can.
He's a double
perhaps
agent.
Work with, yeah.
I like it. That's next level.
You're so smart. Almost as smart as Grollo.
Almost. I'm looking at my sheet to see how smart I actually am. I'm of average intelligence, but yeah, that's
there you go.
It's all relative to you, Grollo.
I'm actually
What is your intelligence,
smart.
Grollo?
Minus one. Wait, what was the?
Oh, like an 8.
That's probably about right.
Oh, minus one.
8, right?
Well, where's the?
That's the,
Oh,
it's
8.
the small
Sorry,
number.
it says yes, 8.
You're
Eight
probably
is
the
not
smart
too
one
bad.
in the group.
I get a 14 plus 2.
Wow.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
You're the
Oh,
smart one.
shoosh. You got the.
I got the
brains.
book smarts.
Nicholas continues to answer any questions, but if you don't have any other questions for him, he's happy to sort of sit and drink water and eat some bread and kind of fill his stomach a little bit and recover a little from being on the sea for so long.
Very good.
As you head back to the town of Torax, there's a part of you, both for Grollo, maybe for all three of you, but certainly for Grollo and Thrain, that is a little worried that you're going to wind up back at the town and it's going to be wreathed in flames, just like your dreams had predicted.
Absolutely.
But as you come back into the town of Torax, you can see that there are several other ships that are docked that appear to be unloading supplies and loading up to head out. It's clear that they have figured out that the pirate attacks have stopped, or at least are maybe taking the risk during the day. But you can see people are generally cheery. They're wandering around. They're exchanging wonderful phrases with each other. They're tossing fish to each other, as is the tradition on Tumble Day. And you can see that things are sort of proceeding as they normally would in the small town of Torax.
Is the Tower of Grollo erected yet?
They haven't. You haven't told them of your successes yet, Grollo. So you're going to need to give them a little bit of time.
Right.
Yeah.
So clearly we're on a different timeline.
What do you mean?
So let's take a break, and when we get back, we'll continue the adventure. What do you say?
Sure.
Let's do it.
All right, we're back from the break. If you haven't become a patron of the podcast, do so now. If you support the various different things that we do, and you also want to get access to our exclusive episodes, then become a patron of the podcast by going to patreon.com. That's patreon.com. Also, go to gametogrow.org to learn more. Also, tweet. Where do you guys tweet?
We have at Game to Grow, and that's TO, Game to Grow. We also are on Facebook, also at Game to Grow. You can find us on Facebook there as well.
Okay. Any other things you want to plug while we're at it? Critical Core.
We could plug Critical Core.
Okay.
So Critical Core is a really cool project that we have coming up to Kickstarter in the next couple of months. It's basically going to be a take-home kit for parents and teachers and therapists to use role-playing games in a positive therapeutic context. To kind of take a lot of what we've done for the last 8 years and have some of the pieces of that to get started on your own.
So it's sort of a starter kit, particularly for therapists and teachers who want to use Dungeons and Dragons in a therapeutic way with individuals or groups of kids and young adults, or I suppose even older people, no matter what age people are. There needs to be a kind of minimum age of what, like 12 or something?
10.
10, okay.
10. We're going 9 or 10 is about as early as we think it'll be appropriate for. But we're going to do beta testing to figure that out. So the goal for this actually is not just not just therapists and teachers, but also parents. We've talked about the work that we do around the country, and we've talked to lots of people who want to play games to achieve outcomes. And a lot of people have a really hard time learning how to play a game like Dungeons and Dragons. So we're wanting to make the game simpler and more accessible, not just to players, but also to game masters, so that we can have brand new game masters playing a game that's a little bit simpler to learn, a little bit easier to facilitate for their kids, and then also we're gonna align the story and narrative structure to really achieve social skills outcomes through the narrative.
Right. So the kit will have our own. It has our own artwork. It has our own adventures that Adam and Adam have done themselves, and they've done it many, many times, and know that this is an excellent adventure, a starter one for people to use. And it's not available yet, but if you get on Game to Grow's email list, then you will be able to know when it comes out, and also know how to sign up for the Kickstarter, which is open right now, correct?
The Kickstarter is not open yet, but the mailing list is open. So you can find out more about Critical Core on the Game to Grow website at gametogrow.org/Critical Core. And then you can join the mailing list for Critical Core to know when it goes live on Kickstarter at criticalcore.org.
Yeah, this is a pretty big deal for us. It's an actual product that we can send out, and the artwork is really great, and it's age appropriate. It's not like super gory or anything. It's beautiful artwork, and it's going to be a great system. And correct me if I'm wrong, Adam and Adam, but you're going to produce videos for people to know how to use Critical Core. You'll have various different trainings, and if you have the kit and you watch the videos, then you'll know how to do it with your kids or your students or your clients.
That's the plan.
Yeah, that is exactly right. It's hard to learn role-playing games if you're not already a part of that world, and the videos are also going to be a really big way in which we're going to help people get introduced into this as a hobby, but certainly as an amazing game that can reach and help people.
And it's not just for the videos won't be just for people who don't know how to play role-playing games, but also for everyone, because the notions or principles to use Dungeons and Dragons in the way that you two use it so well is very particular. Just knowing how to play Dungeons and Dragons doesn't mean that you know how to use it therapeutically, which you two have been using effectively for years now, and know how to train people on that. So so those two things, how to play Dungeons and Dragons, and also how to use it therapeutically.
Yeah, we're actually going to be talking about this at the ICDL conference. So if you're a therapist and you want to get some CEUs, learning about role-playing games for therapeutic outcomes, we're going to be speaking a plenary session at the ICDL conference on November 7th.
In Washington, D.C.
In Washington, D.C. So if you're on the East Coast, sign-ups are still available. You can sign up, come see us talk about Critical Core and get some CEUs.
We'll also be at PAX Unplugged in Philadelphia at the end of November. And
2018, because people might be listening to this podcast like 10 years
totally
from now.
Fair. We're going to be at PAX Unplugged at the end of November in 2018. And you should come by and say hi, at the very least, and say you listen to the Psychology in Seattle podcast, and we'll give you a high five.
I'll give you a high 10.
Whoa.
Have you thought of doing this with Chutes and Ladders or Candyland?
I think the availability of just tremendous growth that can happen through Chutes and Ladders is so high.
It's a metaphor.
I used to play Chutes and Ladders with my clients.
Oh, yeah?
It's a fun game.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, it's a fun game. I went to a Patreon training, actually, the other day. The Patreon had they invited local Patreon creators to come and just learn stuff and get some swag, and it was interesting. And afterwards we were all networking, and I forget his name, but he has a podcast in which he plays Dungeons and Dragons with trans people. I was talking with him, and I said, I'm part of a nonprofit, Game to Grow, and he's like, does this have anything to do with Adam and Adam?
Oh,
so apparently Adam and Adam is a bigger brand than Game to Grow.
In some circles, that's
probably
true.
They call us the Adams.
Yeah.
So, do you know about? So it's a Seattle podcast for actually Queens, is the way he said it. So queens playing Dungeons and Dragons?
I've heard of it. I haven't listened to the podcast. I remember hearing about this because they did several like live shows where they played Dungeons and Dragons. Back right around the same time as PAX or something along those lines. And I really wanted to go to one of the live shows just because it sounds amazing.
Yeah. And what we started nerding out about was had a client, I don't know, 10 years ago, back when being trans was even, a bigger problem regarding discrimination and marginalization and lack of awareness and internalized transphobia. Teenager, and he was not out. She was not out. And she would rush home after school as a kid, teenager, and play EverQuest. Remember when EverQuest was big?
Yeah.
And she would play as a woman on EverQuest and would, play. That's all she did all the time with all of her time. If she could, she would have stayed home, not gone to school. She never would have socialized because it was the one place in her life that she could express herself as a woman and not have to worry about stigma or anything like that.
Totally acceptable.
Yeah. And so for a lot of people, and I don't know if you two have opinions on this, being trans or having any identity that you can't express due to marginalization and oppression or family issues. In Dungeons and Dragons, you can play whoever you want to play, and you can express yourself in whatever way you want to. And I know you talked about in your therapeutic model about how role-playing games in therapy allows there to be an externalization of your identity. What are your thoughts about that?
We actually see quite a lot of players who come in and want to explore different aspects of gender identity through the game. And we always want to make that as open and welcoming a place for them to be able to explore some of that. And some of that is in being able to, when we ask how their character likes to identify, we make sure that we are open with the phrasing on that so that they can choose to identify as male or as female or as gender neutral or any other particular way that they want to specify that their character should be should view their own identity. And we've had a lot of players who some of whom simply just want to play a gender that isn't how they present themselves when they come to the groups, and some of them who want to get a lot deeper into that and want to make that a more centralized idea of their character, where that's a conversation that their character is having with many NPCs. In one case, I had a player who wanted to buy a new binder in order to preserve an outward appearance that was gender neutral, and we role played out a whole situation where they had to go to a tailor, and the tailor didn't know how to react to like creating a binder or selling a binder to this person, and it was a great opportunity where they had to navigate that space of somebody who is trying to work with them but doesn't know the right terminology or doesn't know
what's
the right
a
words.
binder?
A binder is a something that you wear under your clothes that holds down breasts so that you can have a more outward appearance that is more gender neutral.
Wow, I didn't know that you went that deep into it. What I'm encouraged by is that young people today who live in the Seattle area, because of our progress moving forward as a society, are free enough to voice those things. Because I'm guessing you don't necessarily, pointedly tell people, by the way, if you want to be,
Right.
Here's a binder salesperson.
Yeah, they're bringing this up spontaneously themselves. I mean, you provide the flexibility and the bonding and the attachment with them so that they feel safe, but they're stepping into that with their own motivation.
And as Adam said a moment ago, it's about exploration. It's not just expression is one thing, and expression is so valuable, but there's also a lot of opportunity to explore and to see what it feels like to explore the other gender pronouns, to explore expression as an experiment, not necessarily this is the person inside that I've always wanted to be, but what does it feel like to be a little bit different than me? Maybe in a way that I want to be, maybe in a way that I don't want to be, but we can always learn something about ourselves when we look at ourselves from a different angle.
Right. Sort of like how you're exploring what it's like to be smart.
And you're exploring what it's like to be so cruel. Yeah,
So the power of that for young people, and particularly targeted at trans or gender fluid people who are wanting to explore and express and feel comfortable, and as a stepping stone into, hey, I think I'm going to start doing this in my real world life. It's a wonderful thing that you guys are providing. I don't think you emphasize that enough in your trainings, by the way, because I think that would really, if you don't already, I would emphasize that with people, because that's super cutting edge stuff that you're doing right there.
The character identity is a super deep aspect. Oftentimes when we train therapists on a lot of this, we're having to explain a lot of what the game of role-playing games is, which is a necessary piece in order to really understand how you can do character identity exploration. So theoretically, if we were when we run a training that's multiple days, that could easily fill an entire day. Just talking about character identity and how you identify and how your character identifies, and playing with the relationship that you have between yourself and your character.
Yeah, that's so powerful and so deep as a therapist to have a formalized, fun way of doing that. And also the micro stuff around like how you help people actually role play, because that's a whole other thing. You can't just say role play, right? And you've talked about that before. Like there's different phases that people will have, and some people will sort of already be at phase 5 by the time they sit down with you, but some people start from scratch, and just the tiniest bit of role playing you reward, and then they just keep getting more and more expressive with their role. So that's pretty cool. All right, back to the game.
All right. As you pull into the dock of Torax, I guess I'd be curious. You guys now have Nicholas with you, and he's still pretty weak, but he is able to walk. And so he's just got to kind of keep things a little slow. Where do you want to head from here? If you want to collect your bounty for freeing the town of pirates, you're going to have to go to the dockmasters.
I have 2 things I want to do.
What is that?
Number 1, get our bounty. Number 2...
2 is go number 2.
I love your humor. But I want to get a cold drink.
Okay.
A frothy, frosty mug of the worst thing that I could drink.
Okay. I say to Nicholas, I asked Nicholas, did anyone see your face or the way you were dressed when you robbed this bank?
Nicholas is sort of looking around a little nervously around the town as people are walking by, and he goes, well, I don't know if anybody saw my face, but I definitely was wearing the same clothes. Maybe a little less, salty and tattered, but
so let's get you into
into
some different clothes. He's a human, right? So he's your size. Do you have any extra frocks?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes,
I got a frock or 2.
Okay.
You have an entire boat. I imagine you have a change wardrobe.
I got a
Plus
change
you're
of
a bard.
clothes.
So.
Shush, do you know how to disguise people, or are you familiar with I'm not very, as a priest of Moradin, I'm a straight and narrow.
I've got style.
Okay. And can you style Nicholas so that he won't be abducted?
Sure. Nicholas, is that all right with you?
Yeah, I don't know. Whatever you need to do for that.
Well, you could wear my coat, too. Like, that's the other option here.
Can I take some scissors to it?
Do you put your coat over?
I just
over
have
Nicholas?
a very big, bulky coat with lots of fur. And
It covers him. It's like a baby with a whole towel around them. It's
So you're gonna cut my coat up?
I was gonna cut the bottom off of it to make it fit him.
Oh, fine. I've got.
With our reward money, you'll be able to get a better coat.
I've had this thing for a long time. I don't like it very much.
Yeah.
I will use my apparent seamstress abilities.
Roll me
Seamster.
a deception check for your disguise.
Oh yeah, deception. That's a skill.
That is a 24.
Whoa.
That is your bag. What kind of disguise do you want to make for Nicholas?
I want him to blend in, but I do have low wisdom and a high desire to make him look really good. So I think I'm gonna like make it a little bit louder than I should, considering I'm hoping he's gonna blend in. Like I'm thinking he's got shoulder pads. He looks like a guar performer, like spiked shoulder pads.
A mini Grollo.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
You fashion it after Grollo's fashion. Because you're thinking about blending in, and then you see Grollo.
Right.
I'm definitely thinking shoulder pads and a bare midriff.
Yeah.
And Shush, what's our story when it comes to because
Where
some
did this
people
guy
might
come
say
from?
like you picked up a fourth. What are we gonna say?
He's my drummer.
He's your what?
Drummer?
Drummer?
Drummer.
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 In my band.
Okay. All right.
Does he play drums?
I don't know how to drum. I don't know if that's going to make much of a difference.
It's not that hard. I'll give you a triangle. Be a big percussionist.
Well, I'm only about like 5'6".
If anyone criticizes your triangling, we'll just say you have an avant-garde sense of rhythm.
I don't know what that means. That sounds great.
Yeah.
You know, Nicholas, you and I can get along pretty well.
Hey, that sounds pretty good to me too. By the way, I never got any of your names.
Oh. My name is Thrain, and I am a priest of Moradin. It is good to meet you.
Oh, a priest in our midst. No wonder you let me off the hook. Forgiveness and all that, right?
Exactly.
I'm not big on forgiveness and all that, but I am Grollo the Cruel.
That sounds way worse than the priest thing. But it's good to meet you, Grollo.
Nice to meet you.
His hand hurts.
Big handshake.
My name's Shush,
Well,
and I have a boat.
well, that makes you super valuable, I guess.
Around here, it does.
Well, it's good to meet all of you. I don't know about this outfit, but I'll do my best to try and blend in.
Yeah. You're his drummer. Remember that.
Drummer.
Right. I'm your drummer.
Yeah, you are.
He looks like he's straight out of Mad Max. As you guys are walking him down the docks towards the dockmaster house. As you come into the dockmaster, you can see it is set up just the way you remember. Everybody's bustling around. Actually, now that some ships are coming in, they're extra busy, really trying to make sure the shipments get out to the town and get other things for trade onto the ships to go out into the other direction. So he seems pretty preoccupied. But the instant that he sees specifically Grollo, because he stands probably 1.5 feet above everybody else, he waves you over and is pretty excited to see you, actually. And he says, "Hello, well, welcome back. What did you take care of the problem?"
We did. We, in fact, did take care of the problem. And I hold up the box. Inside was a shadow from the abyss, which had been terrorizing the altar to
The loon.
a loon, which stopped the moon from coming out, which made the ghost pirate ship come every night.
That sounds like a super convoluted plot.
What my friend is trying to say is we kicked some butt.
And saved the town.
You got rid of the pirates. That's the thing that I was really excited to have done. So they're gone? They're not going to bother anyone?
Well, they will come back once a month as they did before, when the moon is new.
Oh,
Yeah, they'll do their normal thing.
well, I guess that's pretty good. That's all we can ask for. And you can see...
We can ask him to come more frequently.
No, that's okay. Grollo, you can... this is perfect. This is a good outcome.
Okay.
Well, I said I would pay you an amount of gold. I'm having trouble remembering how much. I think it was 25 apiece.
Was it
I think
45?
it was 250 a piece.
250?
I think you forgot a zero at the end.
I don't think
You're
it
the
was
smart
that.
one. I don't remember.
I'm very
anything.
smart. I think we've established that.
Roll me a persuasion check.
Would this be deception because I'm lying to him?
Yeah, all right. You can make a deception.
Because I am definitely lying to him. Uh-oh. That's not so bad. It's a 14.
He has a little smirk and a little smile. He knows it's not 250, but he says, "Listen, you did the whole thing in such a short time, and we're just so grateful and appreciative. I'll throw in an extra 5 gold there, 30 gold for each of you, and your friend too. I don't remember there being 3 of you.
Our friend is a friend of Shush's. you might want to introduce him.
Hold on.
Glorlo, wait.
Shush said it was 250.
Oh.
He gives sort of a worrying look across
Shush. Did you not say
Grolo's face.
250?
I did. I think you said 250 divided amongst us. Maybe that was it.
Oh, that's 30 each. I got it.
He nods and like a thank you in your direction, Shush. And he says, well, here, you can keep these. I don't often get to hand these back. And he's got the cards with your names on them. And he hands them back to you.
That's right. 'Cause you always...
And he says, listen, as an extra thank you, we'd love to put you up for the night. Wait, did you say that the box came from... Is that the box that got stolen from the bank?
Yes.
Oh. So the whole thing was connected. Listen, would you hold on for a second? I want to bring the captain of the guard in here to hear the story.
Okay.
I think they'd be really interested in figuring out what happened to the whole bank thing.
But he might
hand over mouth.
Sorry, you're okay with the captain of the guard coming? I don't want to get you boys in trouble.
I think there's some drums for sale down the street. Why don't you go check on the drums? I want to tell our new friend to leave the room.
Yeah, he goes, why would I want to buy some drums? I don't even have any money on me.
But you're the drummer.
How about just doing a little bit of shopping just to see what's out there? Don't necessarily have to buy anything. You were talking earlier about how, you like to look at drums that are available on the market.
I'm going to go keep an eye out on our new friend.
Yeah. I do like to look at drums on the market.
And
Come with me.
Grolo's going to go with you.
Oh, that's going to go really well. Awesome. Grolo and Nicholas head off down the street, and Nicholas, you can almost hear just out of earshot, although you don't think that the dockmaster caught it. But Nicholas going like, that's right, because I'm supposed to be the drummer, right?
That's right. And I yell back, he's got it now.
That was close.
The dockmaster doesn't seem to catch on to what's going on, but he does bring the captain of the guard in, who happens to actually be down by the docks anyway. He's checking everybody's credentials as they're coming in with shipments. So it doesn't take very long for the dockmaster to bring him in. The captain of the guard is a sort of short man with a wide mustache, and he's got a set of armor that's clearly made specifically for him. But he comes in and he's looking you all over, and he seems pretty cheery to have shipments coming in and out. And he says, I gotta give him a voice. Hello, I'm the captain of the guard. What can I do for you?
We have a crime to report that has been rectified, sir.
Oh, well, that's my favorite kind of crime. The kind that already has been fixed after I've gotten here.
My name is Thrain Orkshore, and I'm a cleric of Moradin. This is my compadre, Shush.
Hello.
Shush, I've seen you around the docks before.
Yes, I play the violin.
Oh, yes. That's what that noise was.
You might have heard my songs.
He says, well, it's good to meet you all. I'm... Oh, man, we need a name for our captain of the guard. Kirk, give me the first letter.
M.
R.
Y.
S.
T.
I'm Captain Mist. It's great to meet you all. Now, what's your crime? I mean, not crime. Whatever it is that you said it was.
So do you remember the bank being broken into?
Oh, of course. It's been top of my paperwork. I've been trying to figure out who's done that all day.
Well, we found the culprits. They're all dead because they stole something that and I hold up the box, that released a demon from the abyss and killed all of them.
Oh.
But we found their bodies, but we have retrieved the box, and the dockmaster has paid our reward, and we are happy to bring humble.
He also said you were gonna pay the reward to us from the coffers of the city. You being the captain of the guard, you might want to pay us a little, because he didn't pay us And you should pay us. I'm winking at
Roll
Thrain.
deception with a disadvantage for that horrific lie.
Disadvantage. All right. That's a 19.
Oh.
No, it's a 20.
Whoa.
He kind of looks at the dockmaster, but he says, all right. I believe that there may be something in the works for you. Actually, since you got the box back, I believe the owner of the box, the original one who had the safe deposit box with the box in it, is here in town. His lordship is here, and he would love to hear that his box has been returned to him. Why don't we put you up at the inn right next to the guard station, and we'll have him come and collect the box from you personally. I'm sure he'll have a bit of coin in it for you.
Thank you, Marist. That's nice of you.
I'll let the lordship know your names. Are you aware of his presence?
No.
The lord, and I think I'm going to give him a name. Blancmere.
Blancmere?
That's what I'm going to name him, apparently.
Right around now, you guys hear some commotion from the down the street, and you hear something like, "But you gotta learn to play."
But I don't know how it works.
But
You just bang on him like this, it doesn't even sound good.
But that's what drummers do, and you should hear the rest of his music anyways.
You can hear some like really loud, terrible banging,
Like on pots and pans.
off rhythm
Yeah.
banging on some drums. The Captain Mrist says, we'll put you up for the night as a thank you for getting the box back. Any word on the other item?
Any word on the other item?
Yes. I have the manifest from the bank. They said that there were 2 items taken, not just one.
Oh.
I was hoping that maybe the thieves had taken the other item as well.
What else was it?
Apparently, it's some large gem. They referred to it as the gem called the Watcher's Eye. I'd never heard of it. Apparently, some artifact or something along those lines.
Can I roll history?
Yeah. Actually, everybody can roll history if you want.
History of 9.
25.
Man, your rolls tonight.
This is my wife's dice. Ooh.
Yeah. Shush, you have heard of the Watcher's Eye. The Watcher's Eye is a
told you I
very
was smart.
large
You
gem, probably about the size of a fist. It's not a diamond. It's actually probably made of like a quartz. But the gem is a really, really nice cut. It's specifically it's apparently like held a place in history for a long, long time. It got looted from some unknown archaeological dig a long time ago and has since then traded hands both above and in legitimate circles and in illegitimate circles again and again for its supposed historic value. Except nobody can really point to what it was originally a part of. But apparently there's a bunch of people who say that the Watcher's Eye is a part of this particular culture or this particular religious belief, and a bunch of people saying it's part of another one. Nobody can really agree on anything, but the consensus definitely is that it's worth a lot of money, especially to collectors.
Right around this time, by the way, Grollo returns by himself. He's like, "Hey,
Grollo, I think you should be shopping for drums with our pal Nicholas, just to make sure everything's okay."
oh yes, don't worry about him.
Why?
Oh, I left him," and I whispered to you, "Tied up."
Oh, okay.
Did you put your hand on the wrong side?
On the wrong side of your face.
We use that phrase to mean taking a nap, by the way. It's not real.
Oh, well, whatever suits your fancy. I'm not one to get in the ways of people's what they like to do in their spare time. You know, I had somebody in my spare time, and the dockmaster at this point jumps in and he goes, "Why don't we let them get to the inn and await the Lord Blancman's Blancmere's visit."
Captain, was there any evidence of anyone else stealing anything from the bank while it had that big hole in the wall?
The only thing that we had evidence of was that they blew a big hole in the wall and then apparently made off with this box. They opened several different safety deposit boxes, but they only took the contents of this one. Apparently that was what they were looking for. We hoped that they had taken the contents of the other one as well, but they had all been opened at the same time, and these were the only 2 missing items from the banks.
And they both were in the same box?
No, they were in different boxes. Apparently, this box, well, of course, the box that you have was owned by the Lord, but of course, the other box was owned, in fact, by some deceased individual who had paid for the box in advance for several years, 10 years, in fact. But apparently, they had died about 5 years ago.
Okay. I think we should definitely take a rest in the inn.
Yeah, I'm tired.
Grollo, why don't you go get Nicholas from his nap and we can nap in the actual inn?
All right.
You make your way down to the inn. You've been given sort of free lodging for the night as a thank you from the town's guard, and the place where you've been given lodging is it's sort of a bar that is right next to the main guard house. They call it the. Oh, I had this written down and I lost it. They call it the Justice Hammer.
Ooh.
I think you might like this place.
Yeah. Okay.
The bar is definitely visited almost entirely by guardsmen who are like getting off their shift, and you can see them like taking off their helmets and hanging out. But it is a popping, happening place, and the server is pretty happy to have you come in and visit. It appears to be a middle-aged woman who's behind the bar, who is sort of serving everybody up drinks. She's very cheery, and she's very happy to have you come in and hang out in the bar as well.
By the way, Nicholas might not be super happy right now because I did tie him up and I probably tied too tight, and so he's probably got like, red marks on his wrist. And he was like, "What the hell?"
Slightly more alarmingly than that, Nicholas was in the process of getting himself untied by the time when you walked back in and found him. And then he made a couple of short excuses about how his hand slipped out, and he really was meaning to stay here and not run away.
And then one thing that happens as that's happening is I go, "By the Watcher's Eye, what are you doing?"
Is that a purposeful move by Grollo, or is that a?
Well, you guys don't know, but you might want to. That's what you hear me say.
Yeah. Well, away from those two to Shush, I say you might want to figure out whether or not our new friend has this thing on him or knows where it is.
Well, you should probably wonder, because why Grollo wasn't there when you guys were talking about this.
Oh, you just said that?
I just say, by Watcher's Eye, by the Watcher's Eye, what are you doing?
Well, anyway, I say that
Right.
to you, and then I grab you, Grollo, and I pull you aside to away from Nicholas, and I say, "Why are you referring to Watcher's Eye?
Oh,
I've never heard you mention that before."
It's just a saying people say.
Who said it?
Well, he was using it earlier. He told me it's just a saying. It's like when you say for Thrain's glory or Throllo's, whatever you say.
What did he say?
He said something Watcher's Eye. I don't know, but he said it's a saying. It's a saying people say. I say that it's saying like people.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. And I don't know if you were there when you heard this, but
Are we around a bunch of guardsmen in this place now?
I'm actually imagining that you
This is
tied him up
the-
and put him on the boat because you were pretty close by to the boat anyway. So I'm imagining you guys are on your boat, which you can come and go onto your own boat as you.
I was worried we were like in a cop bar,
having this whole
with a criminal, and like with ropes on.
Yeah.
Okay, that's better. I will just ask. Oh, yeah, have you ever heard of... He just said Watcher's Eye. That reminds me of something I heard about a long time ago. I'm wondering if you've ever heard of the Watcher's Eye.
Oh, that's a saying I picked up like, I don't know, years ago. Well, you work in a lot of these underground places, and you hear about all these like really amazing artifacts that show up one place or another place. Ultimately, the Watcher's Eye is like one of those mystical artifacts. It doesn't really do anything, but it's one of those particularly valuable treasures that if as a thief you can get your hands on it, ooh, you are set for life.
Yeah, sure. It's just something you say.
Is Grollo hiding something?
No, I literally overheard him saying something.
You look so eager to...
I asked him about it, and he's like, "Oh, it's something you say," and so now it's a saying I've picked up.
Have I ever heard anybody say by the Watcher's Eye?
How many underground circles have Shush been around in?
I would say I hung out in lots of seedy bars, but I wouldn't say I'm like a criminal mastermind or anything.
I wouldn't say the phrasing sticks out to you, or at least given the new context of things, you can't remember whether or not you've heard it before. But it seems such a common phrase that like it's totally possible somebody's mentioned it before, and you just don't particularly remember that mentioning. But I'll give you everybody roll insight checks.
Which one? The D20?
D20, and then add your insight skill.
13.
4.
8.
Thrain, you know, or at least are pretty sure he doesn't seem to be lying. And when you mention a little bit more about the Watcher's Eye, he doesn't like react to that in any way. Like if I used a common idiom and you asked me about the idiom, I'd be like, oh yeah, interesting. This is probably where it comes from. That's sort of the delivery, at least, that he's giving you.
Nicholas, it is very important that you tell the truth right now. I don't want to have to infiltrate your mind by Moradin's beard like I did before.
Oh, yeah. That was way scary. I don't even know how you did that.
Well, I can do it at any time, but out of respect for you as a new member of our group who I want to protect, I want to take it easy on you. So I would just want to we need to know something. Now, when you and your 3 friends broke into the bank, you stole the box, which you've admitted to, and we're going to return now, so everything's cool there. But there was a big gem that was also stolen from the bank. Now, were your friends a part of that?
His eyes go wide at that, and he goes, "You mean the Watcher's Eye was in the bank?"
Yes.
Oh, man, what a missed opportunity.
I think one of your friends may have taken it as well.
Well,
But I don't know.
I mean, maybe. They were maybe not the most trustworthy fellows. They certainly weren't the brightest. But we were given really explicit instructions. We were supposed to go in, open a bunch of random boxes, and then we were supposed to go in and open these 2 specific boxes. We were supposed to open this one, which we got the box from, and another one, which we weren't supposed to look in.
Interesting. And did you see anyone take any large gem out of one of the second other box?
No one opened the other box. I definitely made sure of that. Is that the one that was supposed to have the gem in it?
I'm guessing yes.
No. We were only supposed to open it up and then make sure that nobody else touched it.
Well, where is it now?
The other box?
Yeah.
Oh, you got me. We did our job. We stole the box. I don't know if maybe one of my partners got in there, but I know I didn't.
So you were told by the pawnbroker, the thief in the other capital city, to do this job. Mm-hmm. So I suspect we need to talk to the pawnbroker to find out who might have this gem.
Did we check the bodies of the other thieves?
We did.
2 of them were burnt pretty bad. The last remaining one that was run through, you did check his body.
Okay, I was going to say, we could just go back to the island. And
We could.
If it's worth it that much money, I feel like.
Yeah, we should do that on our way out. But I suspect that a trailing thief was snuck in and, in the chaos and finished the job.
I think you're probably right.
Yeah, but we could check the bodies on the way out.
Sure.
Just due diligence.
Yeah.
It's about a day's journey out of your way, but that's not a crazy length of time to
Wait a minute.
go a little bit out.
Hold on.
Yes, Grollo.
I'm not saying anything, but you're saying that they stole a box that had this thing called Watcher's Eye.
Yeah.
And he was mentioning Watcher's Eye to me, and there's no connection.
There seems like there's a connection there, son.
Oh, well, that's fair. The Watcher's Eye is supposed to be this really valuable artifact. It's something we in the underworld use all over the place. Not if the Watcher's Eye catches me, or not under the Watcher's Eye's watch.
It is a saying.
It is a common saying.
What
But
does the Watcher's Eye do, according to legend?
oh, well, a lot of people say that it's kind of a cursed item. That if you get the Watcher's Eye, that you get a lot of money because you're going to sell it on the black market for a whole lot of money, but that it's also going to be sort of a curse. Anybody who's ever come across the Watcher's Eye is supposed to, well, they've all died kind of terrible deaths.
Like the orc's thumb.
Yeah. And I am a little bit of a superstitious guy, so even if I had seen the Watcher's Eye, I'm not sure I would have taken it. But at the very least, I'd be real tempted. I mean, think about what you could do with like 1.5 million gold. It's a lot of moolah.
What specific curses have you heard have befallen the owners of the Watcher's Eye?
Let's see. Well, I heard one guy who, I don't know whether or not they ever confirmed that he actually had the Watcher's Eye, but he said that he had it and he gave it up, and he definitely bought a real big house afterwards. But his house got burned down. It actually got burned down by a bunch of orcs that came and raided an entire town. What are the chances of that? Like,
You were just talking about.
orc raids still never happen.
Yes.
Seems like a random happenstance to me.
I'm concerned someone stole this gem. Who is in this town now? So we got to do something about that, or else this entire town is in danger.
We do not want bad orcs in this town.
Can I? Am I near the captain at all?
Sure, you can find him on the dock again.
I run out to him and grab him.
Oh, hello.
So Moradin, god of dwarves.
Oh, is this going to be a long sermon? Should I take out a seat or some kind of...
Well, we can talk about that. The word of Moradin has been known to enlighten people and give them strength in the darkest of nights.
All right. And he kind of leans on the on the railing and he says, "Let me get a little comfortable."
Well, let's start in Genesis 1:1. And there was darkness. No. So Moradin has spoken to me and given me an omen. I could tell you all the details, but let it be known that a fire is going to befall this town, and orcs are going to raid the town, including a 10-foot tall orc that is going to perhaps kill everyone. You should raise the alarm, get the guards posted, evacuate the city. Bad things are coming.
He gives you a long, hard look, and he goes, "Is this something that the dockmaster put you up to?
No.
Some type of fun ruse played on the captain?"
No, I have seen it in a vision from Moradin that a fire is going to befall this town and a orc band is going to kill everyone. And here's the detail that hopefully convinces you. Do you know the gem that was stolen from the bank, sir?
I know that there was a gem stolen from the bank.
Do you know anything about this gem?
Oh, I only know that it was probably a valuable one.
It was very valuable, but it's known to have a curse on it. The gem is called the Watcher's Eye. Have you heard of such a thing?
No.
The Watcher's Eye is a gem that, although expensive and can give the owner a lot of fortune for selling it, it has a curse on it that burns cities and brings a band of orcs to kill everybody.
That's a strange curse.
It is a strange curse, but one of the people who had this gem in the past, this is what happened, and I saw a vision that this would befall this very town. I think someone in this town has stolen that gem, and this curse is going to happen to the innocent people of this town. Certainly you can, you don't have to do a lot, but you need to protect your people, sir.
Roll me a persuasion check. While this whole thing is going on, are Shush and Grollo also there? Did you follow?
I walk up during this time, and as he's finishing his sentence, I haven't quite heard everything, but I walk up to the guy. I'm like, "I have to tell you about my dream."
That's perfect.
So I got a 6 persuasion.
Can I help him with his persuasion?
Yeah. What do you?
To
What?
give him advantage? I mean,
Oh, okay.
I
You just want to give.
I want to just stand behind him and nod my head with my eyebrows raised.
Just looking very serious, and yeah, give me another roll. Make it with advantage.
21.
All right.
Powerful eyebrows.
Thank you.
That's some powerful eyebrowing.
The eyebrows of re-rolling.
Shush and Grollo coming up and sort of assisting you in that. The Captain Mrist looks a little more serious about the whole thing, and he goes, "Well, I don't know if I believe in curses or things of that nature, but you did help us out with this other thing, and well, I am a fan of the Moradin tribe, I guess, is a good way to put it. if you believe that there's going to be an attack on the town, I'll double the guard for tonight.
Thank you.
They're not going to be too happy about it. I hope you understand that.
That's fine. I think you also should evacuate some of the people, the weak and the little ones.
We'll keep a close watch. I don't think anybody's going to come into the town and burn the whole thing down before we have a chance to react to it.
Moradin's vision showed me as much.
Can I ask a question? But let me ask you, in your vision, did you notice any markings on the orc?
Did I notice any markings?
The only thing you can remember from the vision is that the orc, he did have a very large spear. You didn't remember that very vividly.
He had a large spear.
And you could see that he, as he stood and as he stared at you, you really could only see his outline because he was backlit by flames. But you could see his one eye, his left eye, glowing red toward you.
He had a glowing left eye.
That should mean something, right?
Yeah. Give me a history check.
-1. 15.
15's good enough. So as a half-orc, you've learned a little bit about orc culture, even though you have spent a lot of time sort of being displaced from it. There is a very common orc god called Grumsh. And the tale of Grumsh is that basically Grumsh is the evil orc god who is said to have one eye. He's represented in all sorts of different ways, but ultimately the one eye symbol of Grumsh is a big part of the symbolism involved in a lot of orc cultures, and there are many tribes of orcs centered around the tenets of Grumsh.
So then I go, Grumsh.
And you would know Grumsh.
Yes.
You may not
The mortal enemy of
Moradin. But Grumsh is the mortal enemy of your god and of really anybody standing for justice or truth.
Yeah. So what does that mean to you?
Well, a double guard will mean nothing.
That's why we should evacuate, sir.
He says, I can't evacuate an entire town based on your hearsay, valuable though it may be.
Can we at least alert them to an evacuation plan, perhaps by boat, so that they can get away from the flames and the orcs? Orcs are notoriously bad swimmers.
I swim just... Oh, yeah, I am not that great.
That's your human side keeps you afloat, by the way.
They just sink really fast. He says, oh, you think I'm some incompetent captain of the guard that won't do this.
I just think...
I have thought ahead of all of this. Every house has an evacuation plan posted by their main doors.
Oh, where do they go?
They go toward the dock, then they get on a ship, and then they sail out into the water.
Excellent. Can we remind the people that is the procedure so that they know for tonight especially?
I shall have the guards doing rounds reminding everybody to leave their house, go down the street, get on the dock, get on a ship, and sail out into the water.
Thank you, sir.
Now go and get some rest. I'm sure it'll be a perfectly peaceful night.
Yes. Let's hope so.
I don't think I can get rest now.
You head towards the inn. You can see that there is the inn, now that the captain has gone around and sort of given commands for people to wander around all the houses and tell them that they need to remember their evacuation plan, as well as double the guard on all the patrols on the outside of the town. The inn is a little less rowdy and a little less full of people now that you get there than the description I had given before. But the bar, the person who's tending the bar and who's sort of helping everybody is still pretty cheery. And the few remaining guards who are not being pulled onto double shifts tonight are pretty happy to be here and drinking with their friends rather than pulling the extra shifts.
I say to the whole bar, you should try to remain with your wits tonight. Please refrain from drinking. That includes you, Grollo. But your life may depend on it.
But I think better when I have drank enough.
Moradin's hammer will reward you, perhaps in some undetermined time from now, when we can say my God was wrong, in which we will be happy, and I will gladly drink with you.
One of the one of the guards in the bar says, "Here, here for Moradin," and then everybody drinks in the name of Moradin.
And then I did too. I'm like, here.
No.
Nicholas also is having a great drink. Who I assume doesn't have any money, so I think he thinks that you're buying him drinks.
Very good.
But he also goes like, "For Martin!" Oh, I guess that's not his voice.
Like, don't worry, we're each getting 250 gold.
As you get an opportunity to hang out in the bar, you're not there for very long. Thrain, you go around and like try to individually convince a bunch of people not to get too drunk, and they are mostly happy and cheery with you. But you're not really sure you're getting through to a lot of the guards that are here. But at least you can be thankful that that you know they let you know that they've doubled the shifts and all of those things are true. So you get sort of the word of mouth to know that there's a lot of guards on patrol right now.
And I go up to him too, and I'm like, listen, this alcohol is flammable, yes?
True.
We want to drink all of it to prevent it from being used in the town.
I don't think it worked. You're the smart one. Does it work that way?
It might. Only one way to find out. Would you drink the high proof stuff first? Beer, don't waste your time drinking that.
Okay.
As
Vodka.
You're actually not there very long before somebody in a very fancy set of robes comes wandering into the bar, and it's a big enough contrast with their very extravagantly dressed self that everybody sort of stops their conversations and gives a look in his direction. And you can see a very tall man who is sort of tall and gaunt, and he has sort of dirty blonde hair, and he looks to be in his maybe 40s, late 40s, something along those lines. And he kind of looks over the bar for a long time before his eyes settle on the three of you, well, the four of you with Nicholas. And he looks in your direction and then starts walking over to you. And he says, "I am told that you have my box."
Oh, Lord. Blancmere.
Blancmere.
I presume.
Yes.
Allow us to introduce ourselves, Lord Blancmere. My name is Thrain Orkshorn from Featherdale. I am a priest of Moradin. This is my friend Grollo, who I will introduce for him. He is a force for good.
Yes, and I am Grollo.
He says, "There's no need to introduce your friend. I'm sure he is a noble enough fellow. Thrain, roll me an insight check."
Insight check. Oh boy, 7.
Gotcha. You notice mostly that he seems to be like really especially interested in Grollo. He's like like cracks a little bit more of a smile looking over at Grollo, and he goes and he actually shakes Grollo's hand, which is an unusual experience for a lot of people that meet the two of you. Certainly.
Okay.
Shoosh. I hoped get the box too.
And Nicholas says, "I'm Nicholas. I'm the drummer."
Nice, Nicholas.
He says, "Yes. Well, I'm so glad to hear that you've retrieved my box. Do you have it with you?"
Yes, I hand it over to him.
He takes it from you and he sort of looks it over, and then he puts it in his robes and he says, "Thank you. It is a family heirloom, and I greatly appreciate having it."
Can I roll insight to see if this guy is super evil?
Yep.
I'm feeling like this guy is super evil. That is 14.
I'll give you. He's clearly like uncomfortable with the place that he's in.
A cop bar?
He's uncomfortable with being in like a bar,
low class.
like a low class bar.
Okay.
He's very well dressed.
Gotcha.
He's the sort of well dressed like you know how there's sort of like people who buy like a really expensive suit and it looks like a very expensive suit, and then there's like a level past that, which
Like
is somebody
Hunger
who,
Games.
Yeah. yeah. But then there's a level past that, which is where you buy like a very expensive suit, but it looks, it's very expensive, but it just looks like a nice suit. That's where
money.
he's at. Like he's wearing like robes that look like academic robes. It looks like he's maybe a professor, but the academic robes are like clearly super super high quality cloth.
right.
And he definitely like looks a little uncomfortable here.
Royal Tenenbaums.
I'll give you with that. He also you caught just the slightest hint of like a grimace or maybe disgust when Thrain introduced himself. But he really did have like a genuine smile to be introduced to Grollo. Also, he definitely doesn't care about the box. He like got the box and he was like, whatever, and then like put it in his robes. And you guys know the box is it's like a minor artifact. It is whatever it is, whatever its powers are. It's like at the very least anything that can contain something like a shadow demon is a pretty powerful artifact by itself. So he clearly doesn't care about that. He does turn to you and he says, well, I have to thank you for taking care of this, returning my box to me, and I'm wondering whether or not you know any further information about the story. Apparently they broke in just to steal the box itself.
Yes,
We don't
yes,
know anything else.
Yeah, well,
We know nothing.
we're still investigating it. Do you have any enemies who would want to take things from you or wish you ill?
Huh. A man in my position and power? Yes, of course I have enemies. I don't know anybody who would have specifically wanted to steal this particular box. It is outside of the city where I usually operate, and was really only here as a way to maintain business with outer-reaching organizations.
Did he hear me saying yes before I got shushed?
Yes, he did. And he says, I simply wanted to know a little bit more about the mystery. I heard that apparently all the people involved in stealing the box had died.
All of them. Yes, all of them have died.
Well, there's yes,
All of them
all
have
of them.
died.
Yes.
Yeah, we saw them burnt and
Yes.
dead by a shadow that was kept inside of that box
Interesting. Some type of shadow.
from the abyss.
Well, I was always told by my great-grandfather never to open the box. It seems the people who stole it didn't receive that instruction.
What is, you say your position and occupation produces enemies. What is your position? And
Well,
occupation?
aside from being a lord appointed by the king, I've also taken it upon myself to further myself and others around me through education. I am the head of archaeology at the university down in the town of Pija. I try to make sure that everybody is always aware of the amazing strides and things we learn from the history that surrounds us.
We're going to Peacock too,
Oh.
but it's Pishka.
He smirks a little, and he says, "Then you shall have to come by and visit. I would be more than happy to provide you with a meal, perhaps a drink or a spot of tea."
Okay. So, but you didn't answer my question. Why would you have enemies as a professor of archaeology?
Anybody at the university is any kind of position of power has enemies. Any professor at the university would tell you the same thing. The reality is if you are involved in any kind of higher education that also teaches magic, oftentimes you get pulled into many of the things that the magic users get pulled into as well. I myself am not a magic user. I only dabble in history and archaeology, but many of my colleagues are themselves wizards or people of the like, and oftentimes I spend enough time with them that I build enemy lists as well.
Did I notice? Do I notice that he was nicer to me, or is being nicer to me?
Yeah, Grollo, give me an insight check. At the very least, it'd be unusual enough.
Did you roll a 1?
2. I think +1 maybe. Yeah, so 3.
Grollo, you don't like consciously notice it, but you do notice that you're having
smiled.
having a great
having a
time
time.
chatting with him because he's more friendly than most people are.
Do any of these wizards who become your enemies, do you suspect any of them would want to take the box from you or to create havoc in this town?
Create havoc. I couldn't say to something along those lines. The box is a somewhat valuable heirloom. I suppose somebody could have wanted to steal it for its value. I don't know who specifically would have wanted anything like that. Certainly none of my professor colleagues.
By the Watcher's
but perhaps
Eye
one of their
Thrain,
enemies.
stop badgering the man. We should have a drink together.
I'm just trying to help him because I'm worried that someone else is going to try to steal it again, and we would like to prevent that if we could.
He says, "Worry not. I shall make sure that it is stored in the vaults down in the city, rather than in the vault up here. I have a much more secure location to put something like this. Really, it should not have been left in the hands of such a minor security force."
Do you know anything about the Watcher's Eye?
Roll an insight check.
Can I roll insight on this?
Yeah,
also?
yeah, you totally can. So can you, Grilla.
19?
Ooh, 18.
Or no, 20 actually.
17. Three of us are pretty sharp.
You guys can see he frowns just a little bit when you say Watcher's Eye, and then he catches himself frowning, and he says, "I believe you're talking about the artifact that has so far has been said to belong to almost every single religious group and archaeological dig that has ever existed. Yes, I've heard of the Watcher's Eye, as has anybody in the archaeology profession."
And did you know that it was in the bank and it was stolen?
Oh. He does have like a little genuine look of surprise, and he goes, "I certainly, if it had been put in the bank, it must have been done so by somebody who had it in a private collection. It seems a poor place to store such a valuable artifact, especially when it could have been studied for history."
Do you know of its curse?
He smiles and he says, "I am not one to believe in such things. Most artifacts that you find in archaeological digs have no magical properties whatsoever, and even those that do have generally worn off over time. Their magical properties far decayed. Curses on such items are frankly rare and only to be believed by most superstitious people."
Moradin has shown me through an omen that this Watcher's Eye is going to destroy this town because someone has incurred the curse. Fires will fall and orcs will kill. You should evacuate this town, Lord.
He rolls his eyes just a little bit, but seems to sort of hold his composure in the way only a noble can, where he's both insulting you and also holding his stature at the same time. However, he says, "Well, with that, I should be going. I do have more important matters to attend to than some family heirloom retrieval."
We heard there was a reward for returning the box to you.
He nods and he says, "Of course. I shall do exactly that." And he takes a little bag out of his sleeve and he puts it on the counter and he says, "Feel free to divide that among all three." And then he looks over at Nicholas and he goes, "I'm sorry, 4 of you. Buy drinks, have revelry, and if you do find yourself down in the city, please do make sure to look me up." And at that, again, he looks directly to Grollo when he addresses that last piece. He nods in all of your directions and he turns to go. You notice everybody else in the bar was pretty quiet, kind of watching him. You get the feeling that the Lord Blancmere is a pretty famous individual, at the very least for his power and stature. Mm-hmm. In fact, the bartender comes up to you afterwards and she goes, "Ooh, was that the Lord? You got to have a conversation with him. You must be quite important people yourselves." Well, I shall have to make sure to get you an extra round then. Not on me, of course.
I didn't get to tell him about my dream.
I want to send our friend whose name I keep forgetting,
Nicholas?
Nicholas, to tail him.
Okay.
There's got to be more information about this guy.
What do you?
You guys, you saw him. He was
seemed
particularly
great.
interested in the Watcher's Eye and Grollo and did not like you.
He didn't like me.
No, I think
He seemed like a great guy to me.
I think you might think that.
I think he liked me just fine.
Nicholas goes, oh, well, I guess I could tail him. I could see where he goes. He is a lord, though. You know, he's got like a lot of people working for him and stuff like
If
that.
you have the guts to break into the bank, I think you have the guts to follow him down the street and tell us if he meets up with anyone or if he talks to anyone.
He goes, right, boss, I'm on it. And then he starts to take steps out towards the door, and he turns back to see whether or not you follow him. And he goes, really? You're just going to let me walk out the door like that?
Don't you want this gold?
He like looks at the gold on the counter and he goes, all right, you got me there. I'm coming back, but I'm going to get a cut of the gold, it sounds like.
That's right.
All right.
If it helps, I could tie him up.
No, that wouldn't help right now. It's a good idea, though.
Okay.
Tie him up with your stare.
I have that power.
Yes.
Oh.
Remember
that. I shall remember that.
He has sharp memories of Grollo tying him up before, and he goes, I better follow him just to make sure he doesn't get out of my reach. And he bolts out the door. The bartender serves you a few more drinks, and the night kind of goes on a little bit.
I don't drink at all, by the way.
Sure.
I continue my perseverance on everyone to reduce their alcohol intake.
I only drink high-proof clear liquids.
As the night wears on, the bartender, who is pretty concerned, she's like, "You really think that they're gonna come or something bad's gonna happen to the town?"
Moradin does not lie.
She goes, "Well, I hope you're not right. I definitely don't want to see any of my friends or family injured."
Well, I'm staying sober. Where are your friends and family?
Oh, they live just further up on the town.
Do they know the evacuation route to the docks?
She says, yes, everyone knows the evacuation route. And she points and there's a little sign by the door, and it's like a very old, worn piece of paper that's like behind a piece of poorly made glass, and it says evacuation route. That like sits right next to the door. And she says,
I slam my hand against. Is
a-
this the evacuation route that is posted in everyone's home and business?
She says, yep, the guards made sure that everybody would have something like that posted for everyone to see.
You should run home right now and make sure your friends and family understand that they need to run to the docks.
She says, if I leave here, I won't get wages for the day.
Where are your family? I'm gonna go tell them.
Meanwhile, I'm like, shush, can you play a song and I can sing it?
I think we should make a song about the evacuation route. People will remember it.
Yes.
How would that go? Wait. Let me film this with my
I'm gonna
plus
play the,
with
I'll play
my
the
plus
violin.
2 film.
I think Grollo, you're singing right.
Start us off. When the fire's big and the orcs are here, you take your kin and you get out of here and go to the water and ride your boats, unless I punch you for not listening to my song.
That's a great song, Grollo. Now sing it in every home in every business.
Okay.
You guys go caroling.
Take my hat off and hold it up.
It is the middle of the Tumble Day celebrations. This is maybe like a new tradition you're starting for Tumble Day. Nicholas actually comes back after about half an hour, and he says, I tailed him for a little while, but he didn't really do anything. He like sort of rode around the town a little bit, and then he showed up towards a couple of shops and seemed to buy a couple of things, and then he decided he was done, I guess, and he took off. He headed south down towards the city. But I did notice something about him. He had a weird necklace on, and he will draw you like on a napkin the symbol on the necklace. And it is.
In the meantime, can I have warned the bartender's family?
You went over and warned the bartender's family.
Yeah. So it's an eye with a cross through it.
He
kind of looks like the Watcher's eye in a way.
Yeah, I mean the Watch Society itself is a gem, but like definitely has like an eye feel to it. But Nicholas said he didn't recognize it.
Okay.
The bartender.
Sorry. So that is an amulet. He's got an amulet.
Yeah, it's actually like a very small necklace pendant.
Oh, okay.
More than an amulet. Nicholas says it's made of silver. Well, it doesn't have any gemstones or anything, and it's just a silver amulet pendant.
Can we do history or arcana on that?
Sure. You guys can
9.
do history.
I got a natural 20.
Whoa.
Do you want to do history or arcana?
History is the role that I'm better
You got to
at.
thank your wife for that die.
Right.
I know.
Because you've taken all the good juju out of it.
It's going to be worthless after this.
Yeah.
With a natural 20, the symbol is there are probably 3 or 4 dozen recognizable orc tribes around the general continent. They tend to operate. They're like nomadic tribes. They tend to operate on their own. They either live in plains areas or in deep caves. The orc tribes don't get along with each other. There's a general history around the area, and Grollo would know at least this part as well, where the orc tribes are often warring with each other and have never been able to bind under any particular banner or under any particular common goal. However, there is an old, ancient set of orcs that comes from a time in history when the orcs actually all were together, where they all were banded towards a common goal. And that goal was basically conquer and destroy. It was a goal under the banner of Grumsh, and it was a goal that was held together largely by a particular leader at the time, whose name is largely kind of lost to history. But the symbol of that banner is this symbol. It's not held by any current orc tribes. Nobody still operates under that banner. It's like an ancient banner for orc tribes.
So I should recognize that symbol probably.
But you actually wouldn't recognize the symbol because it's not a common orc knowledge now. But with a natural 20 in history, Shush, you've maybe seen the symbol or you learned it in school once a long time ago. No orc tribes would ever. To your knowledge, Grollo would use that symbol as their flags, as everybody sort of moved away from this sort of common binding banner.
Got it. And my knowledge of orcs is sort of secondhand.
Your knowledge of orcs is, I imagine, your knowledge of orcs is either secondhand. It's through other half orcs you've interacted with, or it's through times where you have been like attacking and like interacting in a very aggressive way with actual orc tribes, along with Thrain, where the two of you have like single-handedly done some impact on some orc tribes that have been within the area.
Makes sense.
I'll tell everybody about this.
What?
I knew he was up to no good.
At that point, so Nicholas takes his little cut of the gold, which, by the way, all of you get an extra 25 gold.
Oh. Wait, how much did we get earlier?
30.
You got 30. And apparently, this guy paid you 100 gold for his box, which is a pretty tremendous amount of money to return this box to him, especially given that it was effectively like a tip. Nicholas is pretty happy to have some gold in his pocket once again, and as he's like ordering himself a drink, all 4 of you hear an explosion coming from outside towards the outskirts of town.
It's arrived! I scream at the top of my lungs.
Finish drinking all the gin.
I take their drinks and I just knock them out of their hands. Grab your weapons, you boobs!
But by the way, you had already gone to the house of the bartender and convinced them that there was some type of terrible thing, and started packing for them, even though they were like protesting the entire time.
What are you doing in our house?
My Moradin's beard, pack your bags.
and then frantically left them after they seemed to be sort of half-heartedly agreeing with you, if only to try to get you out of the house. And then the instant that you walked back into the bar was right at the same time that all this happened. So you basically came right back into the bar after having helped them get their things packed, and then this explosion happens.
Yeah.
As you go running outside, you can see that the edge of the town, there are guards that are running in, that are shouting at people, "Stick to the plan! Stick to the plan!"
Is anybody singing the song?
Yes. There's some guards that are running outside that are singing the song that you guys
Or
have started
Grollo
singing.
will hurt you.
And they're running out towards the things from the bar.
I'm
who may
screaming,
be a little drunk.
To the docks! To the docks! Guards, man your stations!
And with that, there's an arrow that flies from a distance, and it embeds in the doorframe next to you, and you can see it has clear-cut fletching from it. It is an orc arrow.
Oh, that is an orc arrow.
I've been telling you!
And that's where we're going to end. So we'll pick it back up next time in the amazing adventures.
Delete the file. Take 3.
God damn it.
And it was all a dream. Part 2.
So, to review, if we were players in your therapeutic D&D game, what did you do? Or maybe you didn't do anything because you just were, demonstrating for podcast listeners. But is there anything you can comment on regarding goals you might have had as a therapeutic DM?
Sure. So from a standpoint of the experience that I want to do, as we talked a little about how people connect to their characters and how important that is to understand both the relationship that somebody has with their character as well as who the character is and being able to do that. A lot of my goals today as a dungeon master were to help make sure that we were fleshing out backstory and make sure that we were fleshing out personalities. And there were a lot of great places where you as players stepped into that role really well and started to take on those determinations. Thrain's character has, just over the course of this one session, really started to become more defined.
Yeah.
Thrain is die hard to his god in a way that in the previous session maybe existed, but now it's much more clear what that really means for him.
And your decision story-wise to include a dream that actually played itself out in this session. Because I was thinking so is this dream going to play out 3 sessions from now or something? And then it kind of loses its relevance or something. So to have it be so quick and feel natural, and also that, of course, people weren't really on board because it's just my vision, and I guess a lot of people have visions,
Right.
And so in my as a player, that's part of my flaws actually that I rolled in the player's handbook is I put too much trust in my god. I have too much faith. Right. And I see omens everywhere. I don't know if you played into that, but I literally rolled that on the traits as I see omens everywhere. And so you set up a scenario that definitely gave me an opportunity to just play around with the character and see, I guess, improv-wise what would happen. You know what I mean?
And ultimately, my setup there is to respond to you as a player. So I set up the dream. I knew I was going to do the dream sequence at the start. Part of that was a nod to the previous campaign that had been lost, but part of that was also to set up for some ongoing and further storyline that was going to be happening.
Which is great because I didn't know you were going to do that, and I assumed we were just going to have a different storyline, anyways. And so I threw my own Easter egg before that, but it was our Easter egg just for us because no one would have heard that.
Right.
And then, but it actually played nicely because then I'm I had some we haven't really gone into why I would have had a dream too, and I certainly don't look at it like an omen, but the dwarf character does. And has a more detailed dream, which makes sense. It's cool.
And I like the link up of both of you having had that same shared connection, which was great.
And then my theme afterwards was he tells this detailed account and warns, and I'm always just have you heard my dream?
When you brought up the Watcher's Eye as a character,
okay, go ahead.
Did he tell you to?
No, I was trying a thread. In my mind, here's what I was thinking. I'm like, the non-player me, so me, thought, oh, I bet you this guy has something to do with stealing the Watcher's Eye. And so then I was thinking, well, what if he accidentally mentions or is talking to someone or is trying to find out how much I would go for, and I overhear that, and when I'm like, what's that, the guy lies to me and is like, oh, it's just a saying, we all say it. So then I, as a sort of both comedic but also maybe a different line, was gonna, when I show up the next time something happened, I was gonna go, by the Watcher's Eye, and you were gonna go like, what? Why did you say that?
Right.
But I was gambling with, because I didn't know if he was or wasn't the guy who stole. And I like how you played it. It was like, yes, it is a saying, right? So it's nice that you were able to roll with the punches.
And it actually worked really perfectly into the sort of some of the history that I had already decided on for some of the greater overarching plot stuff for this gem. So it was a perfect nod. It gave me like a great opportunity to go, okay, now I can flesh this out without necessarily saying, awesome, you figured it out. Here's the here's the thing.
The acting I was going for in that was Grollo felt dumb, or was made to feel dumb by Nicholas for not knowing this famous saying. Mm-hmm. And so then I was overcompensating by telling everyone, it's a famous saying, and that kind of thing.
So just to get meta on this a little bit, in case people are missing it. So there's a dungeon master who is Adam, and the rest of us are players. And so we can only react officially to what the DM is throwing out. We can say what our characters do, but the DM is the one who controls everything else. Berto became an auxiliary DM for a very short moment, and he essentially completely broke the rules of like a typical game. I don't know if you did that.
Well, I have throughout every time I've played, even last time we played, I don't do it a lot, but I tend to fish a little bit. I'll fish. I'll put something out there.
I think previously the fishing was within the realm of normal player behavior, but you invented that the NPC Nicholas, who only he knows what's in his head. You actually placed in his head an idea that completely could have screwed this up.
I put the DM to a tough situation, yes.
Which could have screwed up everything, but a flexible DM rolls with that. It just happened to actually mesh with it.
Right.
And you as a DM, Adam, are so good at this that from my perspective, I was like, oh, you must have slipped him a note.
I thought that same thing.
To mention this, because otherwise, why would a player just make up shit? Like, that's not how you play the game. Like, you can't just make something up. And so it was seamless. I think, you could have, as a DM, been like, Berto, no, he did not tell you that. Like,
so in theory, I could have pulled him aside and be like, hey, can I blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, that would have been, or slipped him a note, just like, can I throw this in there? Or you could have even just said, so I'm about to say something, is that cool? Does that screw up your timeline?
Right. No, that's fair, because like some of them, like with the drums, that doesn't affect the storyline.
No, right.
But the
because this is like a major plot point, you know what I mean?
But I do apply pressure, which is more acting, which is like Grollo often tends to not get the subtleties of subterfuge, right? So he's like, I thought we said we were gonna.
So I think your character is blending with your personality.
Yes.
You Grollo'd part of this story in real life.
So there were a couple of things that ended up happening with that. There's actually a term that Adam and I use for when somebody does that. We call that world building problem solving. Where somebody basically like adds something into the world in order to solve an issue that's going on. So in this case, the issue is we don't know anything about the gem, and the thing you added into the world is now I'm adding in that I know something about this gem, or that I know something about the relationship with Nicholas and the gem.
Meaning that the player is trying to get something, or
the player
city that my character is from actually knows everything about the Watcher's Eye, so I would already know that the Watcher's Eye is actually worth a lot of gold, and in the curse, it means that it explodes and shoots fire at everyone.
So that would be world building problem solving. Usually
and it's
the way
not helpful.
World building problem solving is not something that we want to do because we want you to come up with solutions for the problems given the tools that are at your disposal. There are times where we will like yes and some of the world building. Like in the example, a more extreme example that Adam just gave, I might respond to that with like, yes, your city does know about the Watcher's Eye, and here's what they know. So rather than giving him the whole control over that thing, I'm going to say yes to the offer that he's given, which largely doesn't make like a gigantic difference in the amount of information that I'm going to give.
And his city might have the wrong idea about something.
Every city has a story about the Watcher's
So then
Eye.
I can respond to it by going like, yes, your city, along with many other cities, all have a story about the Watcher's Eye.
Or your city's Watcher's Eye is spelled W-O, the Watcher's Eye.
Yeah, it's actually a different eye. It's a different eye
There's lots
entirely.
of different Watcher's Eyes.
So I might say yes, and we call this sometimes a yes but. So I say yes to what you're offering, and then I'm going to change a small detail, or I'm going to change a piece to it.
Which you actually had to do, because so my bet was wrong in that I thought he did know, and since he didn't, you had to go yes. But it is a saying, which is fine. So I was only illustrating this on purpose to show one of the foibles that can.
Do you ever have to say, so by the way, just so you know how we play this game, blah, blah, blah?
I have some players who come in and do so much world building that I have to put down some pretty clear boundaries on nope, that's not how that works. I've had players that come in and say, like, I pull out my sword of total destruction. And I go, you don't have a sword of total destruction. You actually don't have a sword. You're a wizard. And I need to, like, direct them a little bit to where the rules to the game are. So there are times where we need to outline just a little bit more explicitly, like the way that it works is that you describe what you want your character to do, and the things that exist in the world you have to ask about before you can say, do I have a sword of ultimate destruction? And then I can say, no, you do not.
Right. It makes total sense, because if you just sit down and you're not familiar with the ins and outs and the nuances, it might seem like, well, geez, we can all just make up anything we want.
Exactly.
You know, like Berto, when he did that, he thought he was actually following the rules of the game, right?
I mean, I like I said, it's not the first time I've done this, but I thought I was taking.
You didn't do it last time.
Not to that extent. But the thing is, like, I thought I was taking the story in the direction he was going in, and
Adding to it.
Yeah.
Right.
And I didn't. I actually didn't expect that because like sort of the way he was presented was he was sort of lying and he was a thief. So I was like, but I miscalculated that. Oh wait, there could be another possibility here, you know. Yeah. So I didn't actually think I'm gonna put him to a decision. I just thought, okay, this is where this is going. So I'm gonna say, and in my mind, I was also creating like a sort of a humorous thread for Grollo.
Yeah.
But if I had thought about it a little bit more, I would have been like, oh well, wait, it might not be him.
Interesting. So to an experienced D&D player, as soon as you did that, and for Adam as well, we were just like, what? Like, we immediately knew, like, that is weird. Like, how did that happen? Oh, he must have told, because he's doing it with such assuredness, and the DM is responding well to that.
I thought it was a backstory thing. I thought for sure there was like a note passed, and I was feeling kind of jealous because like I wanted to get a note. I want to know what's happening.
Whereas to you, since you don't play D&D as often as we do, it felt like a rational.
I'm thinking about it more like a play where I was actually expecting, as soon as I said it, for your characters to go, wait a minute, why did you say that? And instead, I had to point out, hey, by the way, I wouldn't have known that. And that's when you went, wait, how do you know? Like that thing? And so in my mind, I was just writing the play. You know?
Well, the thing is, too, is that Adam and I are both, but Adam especially, and you can see it or listen to this, Adam is improvising a lot. He's like asking us to help name things. Yeah. And so there's like definitely a way in which the way that Adam game masters is very collaborative. So the sometimes it is a little bit unclear when we as game masters are saying it's my job, it's your job, it's our job to create this. And sometimes, especially when we're creating backstories with players in our groups, we are like, what's the name of the city you're from? What are they known for? Tell me about the time you had to escape your city when it was under attack. And they're just making up stuff left and right. Who is the name of the person you're going to meet today in our little backstory game? And then when we get into the game, we've had situations where players are like, so here's what the guy's going to say to me.
When
like you're talking to a dragon and the player will say, so then the dragon sees me and he says, oh. I remember you.
Right.
Like, no, the dragon's never seen you before. The dragon's not going to say that. So sometimes we have to lay down the law because this dragon is a dragon has a very important plot point.
Yeah.
And his whole thing is that he's anti people. He hates people. So
Why
he's
would he
not,
have seen- yeah.
he's not going to have been your uncle or something.
In the one we lost, the last one we did, I remember one of the things I did, and you just didn't take it up. In fact, you actually contradicted it, which is totally fine. When you first told us about the orc that was there, or maybe I can't remember the sequence, I said, "Oh, that some memory comes back." And in my mind, I was writing like the little backstory, thinking, that's the bloody serpent are the ones. My dad was a bloody serpent. That's what it was. My dad was a bloody serpent, so this brings back memories. And then you said your father was not a bloody serpent.
Oh, in the previous game.
Yeah, the previous game, the one that didn't get recorded. So I was trying to improvise a backstory based on.
Oh, right,
that.
right. So, Berto, you were how do you call it? Problem solving.
World building
problems.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's the mole from.
And you were hoping to add to the story, or at least maybe even intuit what he was going to tell you. But he actually has a whole story that if that was true, it throws his whole timeline. It's too critical to allow that flexibility. And so last time when we played that, we lost the audio. You just told him, no, your dad is not part of the Bloody Serpent.
Right.
Yeah, interesting.
And sometimes that can be in the best of circumstances. I want to be able to say yes or yes but to whatever offer is put in, and then I always want to try to allow those kinds of moments to be maybe mistakes or misinformation that your character might know.
Yeah.
So this is something that happens to us all the time, where I think I know a thing and it turns out that I don't actually know that thing.
Yeah.
So being able to allow your characters. Not everything you know about history is always going to be correct. Not everything you know about the cultures or the universe around you is always going to be correct.
Right.
So being able to have a variance in the truthfulness of knowledge is a really important aspect.
Also, we're in a world that doesn't even have a printing press.
Yeah.
So it's how is it possible that we can all know the same information anyway? It's probably the oral tradition or some handwritten
Or dreams.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've just never thought that this is a challenge, because everybody I've ever played D&D with knows this forwards and backwards. Like, you don't just add details, like you absolutely have to ask the DM, because in fact, I would say that the way that we've been playing has been even more collaborative than other DM'd games. But I could see with people who, aren't experienced with that system, and potentially people with, control issues or.
What are you talking about?
What's
eagerness to win or something, or to control the story would really. I mean, Berto, it was a tiny issue. What you're describing, in the kids that you work with, I could absolutely see them sort of impulsively, just throwing it out there. And how you handle that, I could just see being an art form.
Well, what's really interesting is it actually comes up for experienced players too. We see a lot of players who have been playing D&D for a little while, or have really fallen deep into reading the Monsters Manual and reading all the lore and stuff. And we make up a lot of our own lore in our games, and a lot of the world building lore. And there's several pieces that we'd like to change. For instance, not all chromatic dragons in our world are evil, because it's one of the defining features of chromatic dragons. They're all evil in the world of Dungeons and Dragons. But I don't particularly like the idea that I can look at a race of individuals and just assume they're evil. In the same way that I don't want to assume that all orcs are evil or all goblins are evil. And so there's a lot of stuff that's sort of written into Dungeons and Dragons from a long, long time ago.
Right.
That is true of these individuals. These are all evil. These are all good. And I want in our games, we often will break some of those pieces. So there are times where there are players that will go you come across a red dragon and he says, "I'll help you," and they're like, "Nope, red dragons are evil. I don't trust him, and I already know he's evil." And I'll say, actually, in this world, that's not necessarily true. And I'll have to really clarify what their character knows about the world, even though they, as a player, have a different set of knowledge.
So in that case, almost by knowing too much about D&D, they're like, "Oh, that's impossible."
So they do the same thing, except that they do it based off of an assumption of what they previous set of knowledge that they believe is true.
Well, I have experienced something like that. I think I mentioned in the last one or the first one we did how one of the set of people I played with many years ago, they were very geeky about the details of the physics of things and how realistic things were, and you could see that happening too, like where you're trying to DM something, and they're like. They're trying to correct you or second guess you because like no, a rope wouldn't do that, or actually I have a rope and I have a real rope like that in real life and it would do, like well dude, it doesn't work like that in this. And in fact I remember that the debate between the DM and one of the players about they'd spend like a half hour debating something.
There's a thing called Rule Zero in Dungeons and Dragons. You know what that is?
No.
It's the DM is always right.
Like the customer's always right.
Yeah, it's like there's a rule. It was an informal rule that they was just passed around, and then I think they actually formalized it in some of the DM guides. Rule 0 is DM is always right, even if it breaks the rules. He or she is always right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
There's also we like to operate under the rule of fun, and the rule of fun is like, would it be fun to do it that way? Let's do it that way.
Sure.
And so that we sometimes get players who will come in and they really want to like hold to the physics, or they really want to hold to the rules. And
like a simulation,
right. And the thing that we will often do is let them be successful at situations where they might not have been successful otherwise, or let a situation be more successful than it could have been otherwise. And they get to see how I changed the rules in order to make it more fun, even though it didn't have to be. So,
well, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're framing it as, is this more fun? Instead of like, are we following the rules?
Right.
You know, you're just saying, so is this a more fun way for you to do this? And then they have to answer the question like, oh, is this supposed to be for fun? I didn't know this game was for fun.
I'll also get players that like try to explain stuff, and they actually make so much sense that I will then incorporate it into the game. Like, oh, I bet it's because according to the genealogy, this is the way that it worked.
Yeah,
like,
that's right.
I'm like writing notes down. Incorporate that later.
That probably is true.
So, there was one video game that has had many iterations. I won't name it, but the running
Grand Theft Auto.
the running
we should
physics.
just guess a bunch of games.
You're ruining my DM story. But the running physics in the game were totally unrealistic in the first, I don't know, few versions, right? And then in a latter version, they tried to make it really realistic. And then players didn't like it. Right? It's like, well, it depends what you're trying to optimize for.
Right.
And that happens a lot in video games where you have to say, well, yeah, no one can jump this far in reality, but if you can't, then it's not fun.
This is like the bag storage issue in video games.
Right.
So like, it's not fun to figure out how much stuff you can actually fit in your bag. That's like not a fun game to play.
Have you played the latest Zelda?
Yeah.
So I love it. The only thing I don't, because Zelda didn't used to do this to me, is the inventory management. And some games do it at first, but then quickly you get enough extra slots. This one, it's like you got to get these Korok seats to get some more slots. And I'm like, I guess, but that's the only part that I'm like, it's a pain.
Do you have a chest you can put stuff in?
You have a home you can buy. And in the home, you can put a few things, but not a lot.
Not a lot.
And there might be other things. Maybe there's something I haven't found. But like right now, I have this problem where I have all these swords in my inventory. I like all of them. And then I find another awesome one. And I got to like throw away the least awesome one. And it's sad.
Yeah, and in Skyrim, you can buy a home, right?
Right.
And in Skyrim, my home was just a junkyard. Just a junkyard of like potions and
everything.
armor and swords. And
if you're going to go pseudo-realistic, that is at least a nice compromise. But Zelda used to be, most Zelda games, what I actually liked about it is when you get the boomerang, that's the boomerang. I mean, there might be a silver boomerang later, but it's 2 boomerangs, not dozens and dozens of boomerangs, And so that they changed it. It's a lot more Skyrim-ish in that sense, but without some of, at least so far, without some of the abilities to just not worry about the inventory.
I mean, D&D got around that. They just had bags of holding.
Yeah.
So you just like
literally, I just put whatever in this bag, and
then they made the rules like you reach in and just think about what you want, and it comes to your hand. Like you didn't have to rummage around.
And then they did make physics where like if you put a bag of holding inside another bag of holding, it's like
I like this idea that like
Yeah,
the
what would happen? Did it like rip time and space?
It actually does like rip a hole in time and space.
And it like opens a portal to a nether world or something like that.
And you
Yeah.
get sucked in or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. You can do it with a portable hole and a bag of holding. There's a whole bunch of
And
stuff
then
about that.
somebody actually designed an arrowhead that had a small bag of holding and a small portable hole, so you could hit somebody. And
There was like a glass thing that held them next to each other, so that when it hit, they like collapsed in and then made a portal, ripped open a portal, and sucked the person inside of the.
technically,
totally ridiculous.
the rules say it's possible.
So I can just imagine the dungeon master who first came up with bag of holding, and they had the players that were like, well, how many? Let's see, if an arrow weighs this much, how many arrows can I wave? And I just imagine the dungeon master going like, you all have a bag. The bag is magical. You put whatever you want in the bag. Everything weighs the same. Done.
Yeah,
You
it's
just
like-
want an arrow. You just
How
stick
do
an
I
arrow.
get what I want to get out of the bag?
You think of it. You think of
I
it.
might
and
cut
you-
my hand if I'm reaching around for my
magically
sword.
appears in
and
your
then-
hand. Perfectly fine. Let's move on.
What about arrows?
Same thing.
They're pointy.
And then later on had to deal with the problem of like, oh, well, if I have this amazing magic bag, can I put like an infinite number of magic bags inside of magic bags? And I just imagine him putting his head in his hand.
You rip a
and going like,
yeah.
no,
Everyone
it
dies.
Causes everyone dies. Game's over.
That's great.
Well,
So I've created a bag inside of a bag.
yeah. Well, thanks for DMing, Adam, and thanks for coming over, Adam, to play. This is always a
for
good
having
time.
us.
I got a lot of emails from people saying that they love it. I'm sure the people who hated it just didn't listen.
They probably didn't send
You gave a
emails.
warning at the beginning. If you don't want to listen to D&D, stop listening.
But when you love D&D, and you have fun people that you can listen to playing with such a great story. I thought
Or
today,
us.
honestly, Adam, today's story was so good. Like
Yeah?
I don't know if like it was
Oh,
just
yeah.
made for me or something because I was pretty dominant. But I just have to say, like the characters, it's totally my style of just like improv of people and and intrigue but not super complicated,
Yeah.
and options. Tell me like. What did you think we were going to do with Nicholas?
I thought you were going to turn Nicholas in.
Yeah.
Really, honestly, I thought you were going to turn Nicholas in, and
Now you have to change the
I have
story.
to change some of the story now because of that. But you guys, I think that was like a super interesting decision to make, and so I wanted to like, yeah, okay, if Nicholas is going to be a part of this, then I'm going to have to get better at my Boston accent.
I wanted him to order a beer. I really was. I was waiting when you said I want to get drinks. I was like, oh, I'm gonna get to hear him say beer. Hey,
Pock the car.
Yeah,
I want a beer. I
Yeah.
can't do it.
beer over
he
here.
can pock the cot right outside and
Terrible
order a
accent.
beer.
I just want to hear Berto's Boston accent again.
I'm from Boston.
It's amazing.
Well, yeah. So again, gametogrow.org. Go there and sign up for the email list to get the Critical Core. Depending on when this comes out, it might actually already be out. The Kickstarter anyway. And please take care of yourself. All three of you, tell us and the listeners why people should take care of themselves. Adam, what do you think?
Because you are a very important part of your life.
What about you, Adam?
Because people want you around.
And what about you, bro?
Because by the Watcher's Eye, you deserve it.